The question is, how many times am I going to mention that I got 16 out of 16?
I think 10 times probably.
10? Only 10? Jeez. I'm disappointed.
Maybe you can mention it after every set. So there has been 16 sets total.
That's, that would be
16
funny.
sets for 16 perfect guesses.
Mentioned 16 times.
Well, you just mentioned I predicted the correct players for this after everyone.
Okay, but let's get it kicked off. So today's date is the 4th of March 2024. We've got a special Hidden Cup episode. Very much a cooked edition. Welcome back if you are a returning listener. If you're a new listener, welcome in. Any likes or subs are very much appreciated, and we always love feedback in the comments. I don't want to spend too long in the intro, because we always get chinned that the episodes are too long, so we're going to try and keep it short and sweet today, as much as we can, which is obviously going to be a 3.5 hour podcast. Clearly. We've all been glued to our screens since 25th of February, with Hidden Cup 5 going on, hosted by T90. There's so many different castles on, it's been a joy to watch. The thing is, when you watch Hidden Cup, it's also very exhausting to watch. I could almost feel like at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock every day, I was starting to get very tired from the mental stress of trying to work out who is who. And as you'll find out, I've spent a lot of time trying to do that. The prize pool ended up at 70,000, or around about 70k. T90 was donating 50% of all donations there, helped cover costs. He had some meetup and viewing parties, and obviously a lot of production. And on the second last day, the last day I can't remember, guys, he had a massive 20k donation through PayPal. So PayPal they're getting a good percentage there from that one. Surfshark did come on support the event too. I think they donated 10k because it jumped from 40 to 50, so it's a pretty good guess. And I have to say, the Surfshark segments were pretty damn good from what I watched as well. Just goes to show what you can do with a little bit of an imagination, should I say. Before we get kicked off in the event, I'm going to pass it over to Tarsus, because pre-event, Tarsus released these beautiful player profiles were kind of posted across Reddit. Were they posted in the AoE zone? I can't remember, but these things were gorgeous, and I think I've got one of them on my screen now. Tarsus.
Yeah. So no, they were not posted on AoE Zone. This time around, I only made them for Reddit specifically. However, I sent them to T90's website admin, and they were posted also on the Hidden Cup official website, which I'm pretty happy about. And some of the graph that were on the profiles were also used by production on the player profiles that appeared on the screen during the event. So like T90 had the players divided in 4 categories. There were, I think, the contenders, the challengers, like the dark horses and the newcomers or something like that. And all of them had the civilization preference graph that I also provided for them. So yeah, it has been a lot of fun for me to make. There was 16 players in Hidden Cup, so I made 4 a day, and I kind of ranked them in order of which, like, the form that I thought they would be in and everything. And a few of them were new at this level. I think so. 5 of the players that participated in Hidden Cup 5 had never made it to a Hidden Cup before. I think, if I'm not mistaken, these were Genji, Mihai, Sebastian, Sito, and Hart. And we had 11 returning players from previous Hidden Cups. But yeah, so lots of newcomers at this level, and in a tournament where the goal is to guess players, it was very fun for me to kind of try to hone in on the details and see what would be the storylines of the event, who is matched against who, and what does this matchup look like, etc.
I'm interested to ask, what was the total man hours, and were some profiles trickier to do than others?
Yeah, definitely. So there was a lot of things I could reuse. So a couple months ago, the GB Discord organized their own hidden cup, where they had 16 players from the Discord and the community play in a hidden format. And for that, I wrote some code that was doing the map and civilization analysis and making the graph. So that part I could largely reuse this time. So that took me, I think, probably around 20 hours last time. And so here it only took me like a couple hours to just like refactor the code a little bit and collect the data and everything. But then like formatting everything, getting the photos, getting the graph, and writing everything took like a little bit of time. I'd say probably around 30 hours total.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit more than that. But yeah, like so like my goal was to publish them 4x4 on the 4 days that were before Hidden Cup. And so like I was writing them the day before and publishing them the next day. And yeah, I was essentially doing that from morning to evening. Yeah, those days. Some of them were a little bit harder to come up with interesting stuff to say about the players. So like I think the biographies were all pretty easy to write. It was quite. They all have their history, even from newer players like Mihai and Sebastian. You can always find things to say. They are interesting characters, and the others that have been in the scene for so long, you also find stuff to say about them. What was more difficult was sometimes to find ways of describing their playstyle. You can only say aggressive players who like apps so many times, so you have to kind of try to see what they're known for. I had not watched many games of Sebastian or Mihai before Hidden Cup 5, players at least. So I asked Margugu to give me some info about those two, and yeah, for the rest I built up on what I thought about them, and I also tried to look at the performance, like from the data I had. Like I noticed that some guys are really good on a certain set of maps. I think, for example, Heart was like really good on Gold Rush for some reason. So yeah, but yeah, it was a lot of fun to make. Very rewarding for me as well. Like I saw some, like there was one guy who contacted me. He wanted to print the profiles for a private event that he was doing with his friends. So I just removed the backgrounds, put it white so it was be more printer friendly, and he just like printed everything. And then I think Chata Burger made something as he had printed everything, and that was very cool to see.
It's nice, and I tip my hat. You deserve that, because it's a good effort. It's the kind of thing that goes unnoticed by a lot of people. And being like having your work part of the event, I'm sure was great to see in the moment. And it was one of these part of the production that was used quite often as well. And I think T90.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and I think like categorizing the players that way was very easy and digestible for viewers as well. It was good. So chapeau.
Thank you.
Let's get kicked off on the round by round analysis, should we? So I think we'll go for round 16. We'll go for the quarterfinals. We'll go for the semi-finals, and then we'll go to the final. And when we're doing our little pre-podcast meeting here, we're trying to work out if we're going to do game by game or series by series, should I say? We're gonna go for it, guys. We don't know how long we're gonna be here for. But we'll see, and we'll kick it off with the first one of the round of 16, which was Vashko. I need to say this correctly because it's not like a Vask. It's like as Mashmora always corrects people. It's not Masmora. It's Mashmora. It's Portuguese. So it was Vasco da Gama versus Pachacuti. It's Pachacuti's right, isn't it?
I think so. No idea.
I'm now starting to second guess myself.
The spelling was probably the spelling like like if you think about it instinctively, the Incan Empire was probably not using Roman letters, so the Roman spelling, like Western spelling of it, is probably just phonetical. So that's what I'm guessing.
What you're telling me is it's fake.
I'm guessing Pachacuti wouldn't spell his name Pachacha Cuty. But
I'm sure someone will fact check you on that one. Okay, so we had a very, for me, this was a very obvious Hera series from the very beginning because we had Ethiopians and slopes guys, and once Ethiopians on slopes there, I have like alarm bells going. I'm like, who could do this? And I certainly, I probably narrowed it down to like Hera and Leve straight off the bat because who the hell is picking Ethiopians game one for slopes in one of the biggest AoE tourneys?
Going just Leary.
for me, it was a Leary thing.
Yeah.
It did cross my mind. I
yeah.
did cross my mind.
Like the
Especially
style,
because
especially.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
go ahead.
because like he opened with an archery range, and I wouldn't say Hera is necessarily like fully known for that. Like make 3 archers, walk around, snap balls, kind of thing. Which I was like, oh yeah, this is very easy. Let's go next. Now we have to figure out who Pachacuti is, and the more it progresses, like maybe not.
I did.
For me,
I did end up noticing something with Pachacuti, and in the end, in this one, it was they like placing 2 houses quite often before they are the mill timing, and not the single or one. And then, of course, I ended up doing some research on that, and then got to my final answer. But I find quite a lot of players don't do that. It seems like a bit of an old school thing. I only make 1. I maybe make 2 in arena, but every other map I only ever make 1.
could be.
I'm not sure.
I've not thought
I'm not
that
sure.
much about it.
Yeah. But it was a convincing game 1. The rest of the series, the evacuation game was quite convincing. It was the first time we seen evacuation, of course, and we saw the boar getting lured by the scout into the TC. That kind of took me by surprise, actually.
Yeah. I think the series was very convincing, and every game, even the one that Pachacuti won, was very straightforward. I don't think there was any game that was like a big fight, he got rolled in 4 games, and he rolled Hera in the 4th one. Yeah.
I felt that Hidden Forts game was a bit of an early resign for me personally. It was kind of like I'm ahead.
So like the Heated
not gonna-
Forts game is the first time that I thought it could be someone else than Leary. I don't know if you remember that, but I think production caught it. Hera was trying to quick wall a bunch of times. Like he had he failed a lot of quick rolls in a row, and to me, this was like Hera having fun. Like this level of confidence where he's 3-0 up or 3-1, and then he's just like very very confident that he's gonna win the sets, and he tries stuff and he has fun, and even if he loses the game, he knows it's not a big deal. And I don't see Leary having that same confidence, even if he were 3-0 up, considering recent results. But yeah, so to me, that screamed, okay, this might be someone else than Leary.
Someone like a very high confidence level for sure. And
yeah,
as we kind of go through the tournament, it might actually be a bit of a reoccurring theme with Hera going like 3-0 up and potentially trying something or taking his foot off the gas, it almost seems, because he can, so. Last game was Cup on Britons, I was going to say there. Britons, Koreans on Cup. Now, we had the Koreans pick, and this is an automatic GL pick, and of course, Hera's now in GL, so he's picking Koreans. It's always massive alarm bells for Koreans coming up.
I don't think it was alarm bell at this point, but then later on, it helped us hone down on who was which team, because I think we hadn't seen Cup in 3 years, and the last meta of Cup in Hidden Cup 4 was that Britons were kind of the best of, because they were countering Celts. They had a good water tech tree, and they were also countering Japanese. I don't remember exactly, but essentially it was like a fight of Japanese and Celts, and then Hera and Leary came up with Britons that had like the full water tech tree and also a really good overall economy and everything. And so it was the first time we were seeing Koreans on Cup, I think. So like a new pick.
Was it used in the last one? I would need to go through it all.
Can't remember.
That's a good question, but I feel like it. Yeah, I don't know. But the balance change has obviously changed so much since the last, I think.
Yeah, there has been, so like it's been 3 years. The last one was in March of 2021, and so we have had a lot of new civs since then, and the balance has changed a lot as well.
Yeah.
And Cup was first introduced in Hidden Cup 2, but the meta really got refined by Doubt and Taro in Hidden Cup 3, where they came up with the Celt approach and go for the militia and everything. And so in Hidden Cup 4, we've seen a lot of Celts and Japanese on Cup, and that's where Hera and Leary came up with Britons as a counter to that.
Just looking at it, see it mostly other than the Hera and Leary sets, almost all the other games on it in Hidden Cup 4 had like Civ known for their men-at-arms opening like Japanese, Celts. There was even a Bulgarian speak. So
Was that Doubt? Was it Doubt?
No.
No. I don't think
Doubt one with Celts on Cup.
it was balls. He went with
Interesting.
Bulgarians. Yeah. So yeah, it's the meta's definitely shifted on, or not shifted, like completely changed on the early engagements. At least I think we saw a lot more water play this time.
Yeah, did
Like
we?
more fires contesting, like with ships for the fish or on the water.
Did we
which
even
I
see
can't
any
remember.
militia? Sorry.
I don't think so. At
Fi-
least not in any of the games I watch.
I feel like there wasn't. So it's kind of crazy.
Mm.
To have such a big meta shift. I know it's been a number of years, but geez, I think not only just the balance changed, but in terms of how people are playing the game now, it's changed a lot.
Yeah, that's everyone's archer microing these days, right? Right.
God.
Yeah, I think everyone has become so good.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot.
I had a big Hera vibe at the end of the series. I really couldn't nail down Pajacuti though at all. I was cooked on that one, but I did have a Hera vibe. I think we all had a Hera vibe in this one, right?
Yeah, pretty.
I was more on Leary, but yeah, I think like Hera was definitely not someone to exclude. I think for Pachacuti we had one clue. Pachacuti had like weird strategies, like he felt like an unprepared player. The Sicilian approach on evac felt like a little bit winged, and the Britons on Cup to me is like he remembered Hidden Cup 4, and he remembered Britons being pretty good there, but he didn't practice any new strategy. He was like, okay, Cup, I'm going for Britons. And then I think the bypass approach, where he showed some pretty good monk micro, was like the first clue we got maybe into the identity of that player, stylistically.
Because
there was
only so many people
of
can have good monk micro. Sorry. We need to get that in there.
Like King Boo says.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he had a lot of miss micro in that the bypass game.
Yeah, well, he had like a miss macro for the initial engagement.
Yeah, I think it could be anything. Maybe nerves, maybe misclicked. Sometimes I misclick my control groups because I'm under pressure, right? So anything like that could have happened to him. But there was one moment which it was missed in there, I think. But somebody clipped it on stream. Like, look at this monk micro. You just not instantly, but like you targeted 8 units pretty fast. So like, yeah, this guy who was like, yeah, he knows what he is doing. It just had some other things going against him, which is why the previous attempts didn't go that well.
Quake snoping, man. Quake snoping? Quake scoping. Jeez. I can't talk today.
So, long day. But yeah, it was. I think that caught people maybe also a bit off guard, or not off guard, but made it harder because he struggled at least in the early engagements with the monks for whatever reason, and that's why people were like maybe not 100% wanting to commit on balls. I think I did a pretty quick one. I was like, yeah, this feels like balls. But that might also have been because I didn't know where else to place it.
Yeah, I think if you have one series played and you're pretty sure on one player already, that's pretty good. If you're on a strong Hera vibe, it gives you one less player to worry about. And so much as you go along, it's just the process of elimination anyway. Did we think this was do you think this is a rewatch worthy series? I'm not going to put you guys in the spot. I'm going to say no straight off the bat.
No.
Panda?
Don't think so. No, at least not. If you want, there might be some people who doesn't like is the execution of that Turk's fast imp from Hera was really clean, I think, and it's pretty ballsy. I think if there's something to rewatch is like somehow if you can get the Rex for that is rewatch that build because it was or watch him play that because it was really really good. That's the at least if I can say a highlight for me from that is.
I think that's fair.
In that sense.
And generally because of this Turk's fast imp thing, right? It's something that's been around for years. It's kind of seen to be this thing that after 1400 doesn't really work anymore, but there seems to be a lot of people under 1400 like cheesing it on Arena essentially. Like fast imp, bomber cannon, and hand cannon is what you would do.
And the way it was done, it was like just like so confident, like no hesitation, just like pure, like and really good reaction to the Mongolian as well. Very strong.
Okay, let's move on to the second one of the round of 16. That was Simanguru versus Jean Biro, aka Dave AoE, our bald bearded friend. It turned out to be Jordan versus Mihai, which was well, it was a slight surprise considering Jordan's identity. But Mihai did have a major giveaway in the Palisades on the Pawns and Cross. And man, this would have been the best bait ever. Could you imagine if someone did that? Because no one else did it in the full round of 16.
Yeah,
that would have been
I think
such a great God moment.
There was like two possibilities or like two so I think T19 said okay, like people have been watching Mihai's game in the qualifier, but I don't think pros watch casts a whole lot, and I don't think they maybe Hera watched a bit of qualifiers because he did say in the interview that he had helped a lot of players prepare in the qualifiers, so he was very invested in the qualifiers. But I think you only copy this strategy, like this very specific thing, if you are either a teammate or you are the opponent, and you have that done against you. So I thought it could be maybe Winchester, who had played against Mihai in qualifiers and had that happen to him, or Sebastian, who is Mihai's teammate. That was the only two with that could have also done that, with Mihai obviously being like the biggest possibility.
And then, sorry, just quickly sticking with the cross
as we're
game.
on the cross game, sorry.
The Huns. The Huns is so Fox, and it's so Mihai.
Yeah. There is like an additional thing on the cross game that actually T90 picked up on, is Jordan played Like he went for the opposite pond in a way that usually players don't do, but he had done that the same way in Hidden Cup 4, and
Oh.
that eventually proved to be like a crucial detail in identifying Sumenguru.
What about the
That
mod?
is
And
true.
during the cast, T90 said, "I've seen Jordan do that before."
Yeah, I
And I think
remember
actually
that
the
now.
viewer guess was Jordan because of that.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Like, I must say, I thought it was Winchester playing.
Yeah,
Instead.
I didn't really know. The first two games I thought were really good, high quality games actually. The Slopes game was the Franks versus Spanish with Mihai, end up going conks. Jordan with a really solid defense, and then eventually got onto Paladin. And then the Italians versus Mongols game was kind of this
It was crazy.
it was a crazy game. It was probably the best game on bait in the full tournament. I think in
Like,
my opinion.
That was a very good one, yeah.
didn't Mihai like drop 3 castles?
Bro, he was going ham.
Yeah, it was. I think those first 2 games were actually really good and could have gone Mihai's way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He
they were
had
close
the
games.
opportunity. Yeah, and
Those
that's
were
what,
really high quality games.
So you might like
I think after that, maybe Mihai crumbled a little bit.
could be.
maybe you might look at the scoreline, see like 4-1, and think, man, this was a slap. But it was a relatively competitive series for sure.
Yes. The first, the first 2 games were really close, but then High Tides, I think High Tide is really straightforward. I think Jordan won that in Feudal Age, basically. So, yeah, that's why what's I'm saying, like maybe crumbled a little bit, but then he managed to go back a little bit and win cross. Yeah.
I'm glad for Mihai it wasn't a complete whitewash. He got a game in the end.
Yeah.
Big first S tier for him. I think just getting to Hidden Cup is huge. I'm interested to see how much he can still progress. So I think
Yeah.
certainly still one to watch out for.
Yep. He actually more than doubled his proximate winnings with Hidden Cup. That's insane. And I'm happy for him. It's
Yeah, really cool.
There's a fact for you.
Yeah, it could be a good like carrot. Like carrot front of the nose.
Yeah.
Motivates like, okay, I got a taste of this. Yes, I might not have had the result I wanted, but if you look back at it, like I played some really good games on it, and on another day he wins that set potentially, and that could be some good motivation. And then here comes the next S-tier tournament. He makes it top 16 again, gets roughly the same amount, and it's like, oh, okay, this is looking good. Then you're getting confidence, right? And then maybe, Red Bull comes and he makes it top 16 there. That's even bigger thing for him. And just slowly build confidence up from your performances.
But the important
like
thing
you
is
said, the first 2 games were really good.
Yeah, and he's had a performance where he can still build confidence on. It's hard to like build confidence when you're not maybe qualifying for the big events, but I think now he's maybe got over the hump a little bit. He can have a bit more of a steady upward trajectory, not going like up and down, but progress is not linear, so it's a tough one.
According to Viper, they played a practice set, he and Mihai won 3 of the games. So
Oof.
he can do it. It's just needs kind of like get over those tournament nerves, maybe. Well, when you like in there like playing for the money, kind of. But I think it will obviously go better for him from this point onwards, I think.
Yeah, I agree. A rewatchable series. I'm gonna go off and one say automatically yes. This is actually a series I would watch back. What do you think, guys?
Yes, for me, I can't actually remember the second half of the series much because I was mostly I had to go to I missed half of it, so I was just like catching up in the morning, so I didn't really see some of it. But like definitely those first two games were really good for me. If you just get those two, you'd be happy. um,
Especially if you know the result. But if you didn't see them and you've got spoiled already, I think watching those two games back are good games to watch.
Yeah.
Should we move on to our next one?
Let's go.
Which was Jadwiga versus Otto the Great. This was our only 7-game series, guys.
Yeah.
Bit of a shame, isn't it? It's 16 matches and we only had one 7-game series. But when you look at who was playing it, I had Hart versus MBL. It's actually a series I would expect to go to 7 games. And it was a very back and forth series. MBL started 1-0 up after the Teutons game on Hidden Forts, which is of course scripted by Panda, and then went to Evacuation Cup. Hart got 2 games in a row. We've seen some interesting strats there, especially the kind of Saracens FC on Cup, which we'll touch back on in a little bit. Also, an NBL side trying to go. That's the Spanish thing is just so unbelievably NBL. But it's down 2-1. He then gets it back 2 each. And then goes 3-2 Hart. And then NBL wins the last 2 games on slopes and then on Mudfall in the Chinese mirror, which happens so many times in qualifiers and ends up winning this series 4-3. What was your favorite games from this one, guys? I think the cup game for me was just so funny to watch. Trying to go for Supremacy Vills and trying to get to Bombard Towers. Who else would do that?
I think the cup game. I don't remember every game from that. I remember the Hidden Forts approach, Cup, Bay, and the last two slopes and Mudflow. I think Cup was the best one because of the unique approach from Hart. And it was like you could see it was very clearly prepared. And he was very comfortable with the build and with the adaptation and with the approach. And it was a very solid game. And then you had the more unique approach of MBL playing Spanish. The only time Spanish was played on Cup on the other side. I think it was like a really good game.
Talking of Spanish, that's slightly deviating. We saw quite a lot of Spanish in the main event.
We saw a lot of them in the first round, but I don't think we saw a lot of them after that.
Well, at least more than I would have expected. Because I would say, if you think in a tournament, 1v1, like they probably bottom 10 on most of the maps. Like I'm just talking in general. They're not gonna be one of your top 8 picks usually. In my mind,
unless you host like a 1v1 Nomad tournament.
Oh god!
Exactly, and there's no Nomad tournaments. There was no Nomad maps here, so I think the 3 or 4 times played, which is actually a lot. I think if you think of the power of some other civs, and they were played on a variety of maps.
But the Civ draft did have way more bans this time out.
Oh, that is also true.
So we did
10 bans total.
Yeah, we did end up seeing not so much. I think we saw way less like S tier civs on these maps. We started to get into the A and the B tiers more, and for me, I really like that. But sometimes the way the drafts work out, sometimes you can have some mismatch ups, which can be quite rough. But yeah, if you didn't have this amount of bans, there's probably no way you're getting Saracens in Spanish One Cup. Surely. I don't think so. But then we look at like Arabia, Byzantines as well.
Wasn't that a really good defense from MBL?
Yeah.
Hart had like all the pressure on MBL in Castle Age, and then MBL did MBL things with Mangonels and swung the momentum. If I remember correctly, trying to think. The only thing that stood out to me this series is spotting NBL instantly, almost. He was probably
Yeah,
the
he was
easiest
very,
pick.
very obvious from the get-go, right?
Yeah,
I think in
we
terms
ended
of
up.
gameplays, one of the most easily spottable players and one of the most interesting, dare I say it?
And it ended up being an emote. What's also so great is he gets the hero that kind of works with that's something that goes with him auto everything and then auto the great. So
That's deliberate, man.
so yes, hidden copy
Rigged.
rig, guys. You hit it here first.
It's gotta be rigged. Has to
Yeah,
be.
auto everything. I think there was even an
No, but yeah,
emote.
he had such a unique style. I think for Hidden Cup, it's always fun to have him. He always does well in this tournament as well. Yeah, he's totally a good addition to this. Very fun to watch him.
Yeah, it was nice to see him back in a major event because he's had a bit of a he's not had the best of runs in recent memory, so good for
Yeah.
him. Qualified, got into the top 16, and then made his way through to the quarterfinals with Hart crashing out, and it's still a very good performance for Hart to get into the Heaven Cup round of 16 and took 3 games, so nothing to be ashamed of there.
Yeah.
Definitely a rewatch series for me, even with it being
Yeah.
7 games, so that's a commitment there. That's going to take some time.
One game a day. That's can do it.
It takes a full week, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to our first and probably one of the biggest surprises in the full tourney. We'll try and give as much context on why this happened. But it was Tato Zero, aka Gregory the Seventh, versus Gajamada, aka ACCM. The first game was on Bypass. We had Cumans trushing up against Burgundians, and people were like, gotta be Tato. This is definitely a Tato thing to do. Then we had we had Georgians on Evacuation, Bengalis on Bay, and then Saracens and Hidden Forts. These aren't Tattle subs, these are ACCM subs, but when you say those subs out loud, they sound very Tattleish, don't they?
They do.
Indeed.
It was such an interesting set as well, just for the guessing game, because we had a glimpse of strategies that we would see, strategies and pick that we would see mirrored in other sets. So we had this goth pick on Evacuation with the very deliberate intention of going to lane very early on and make things messy for the opponent.
Mm-hmm.
We had the pick of Lithuanians for Hidden Forts, and if I'm not mistaken, Gregory also had Koreans drafted potentially for
Yes, Cup probably. Yeah,
coming up next.
It
But
was.
yeah, like the results was I'd say a surprise for most people, me included, and we could say like an upset in a way. Like Tato was coming up very strong, top 2 in Worlds 2, had beaten Viper in the semifinals and then lost to Hera in the final. A very strong showing in NAC 5 as well. He had made the semis, I think. Yeah, he lost to Yo in the semis, but he had taken Hera to game 5 in the group stage and beaten Viper in the group stage. So he was in very good shape. Some people would consider him maybe number 2 in the world. And to lose 4-0 in the first round, that was quite impressive performance from ACCM.
I think there's no doubt that ACCM did play very well, and I don't want to take anything away from ACCM, but some people did have their cap on doing detective work. And if you looked in the handbook, you would have found when the rounds get played. So all of the first rounds of 16 and quarters, I believe, all the players played at the same time. So everyone logged on their PC. They all had to check in or whatever they did and say, okay, we're going to play now. Which is quite cool, actually. But there was also a tweet and around this time from Tato. I'm not like a native Spanish speaker, but the native Spanish speaker seemed to be saying that this was essentially a tweet that was saying he was been sick the last few days. So kind of had the siren going off and going, this doesn't look good.
Yeah.
And this wasn't really something that people put too much thought in that moment, because this was the first time we seen the golf swing and the lame. It was more something that could piece together a little bit along in the story. But we had our first kind of like we had our first kind of series where it was a real question mark, and it was like, And I think everyone assumed that Gajimada was Tato largely because it was a player playing these strats, and also you'd probably expect Tato to win anyway.
Yeah.
That humans game, in game one, it just to me it screamed peak Tato. Like, this has to be Tato. Turns out it wasn't.
Yeah.
I was rushing behind and then adding the TCs behind it with humans.
It was not close, right? The bypass game, it was like just masterful from ECCM, the human player.
It was really good.
And then we had the 2-hour game, Evacuation.
I think that game might have. I'm using the word loosely here, but I think it broke Tato a bit.
I think it's a fair word to use, actually. The gameplay after game 2 looked like someone operating on 50% afterwards, which is understandable after a 2-hour slogfest with ACCM 10k score behind and sticking in the game and eventually winning. That was our first clue that Gajimada was actually ACCM. He loves long games.
It's not the first time. It's not the first time they played a super long game in recent times as well. I think they played this in the last time they had faced before that was the Middle East tournament, where ACCM actually came back from being down 2-0, won the set 3-2, and the final game, Tato had Burgundians on 45 clearing, ACCM had Huns, and won after like a super long drawn out game, just like making Husser and keeping his ball of heavy cavalry archers alive for as long as he could. So yeah, second time in a row that ACCM goes the distance to beat Tato in a very long game.
Yeah, and unfortunately...
And he has now won 7 games in a row against Tato as well.
Oh, jeez, that's nuts. And unfortunately, talking about seconds, the second time in a row that Tato's going to be eliminated in the round of 16 of Pidding Cup. So, back to the qualifiers for him. One more quick thing on the bypass game for me. The first VOD that I scraped through, ACCM was playing Rage Forest, as he has been a lot the last couple of weeks. He was on flank, he had Cumans, he tower rush, and he feudal boom.
Nice.
I was like, what are the chances? Come on. I would say it's definitely a rewatch series, purely because the game 2 is very good. The game 1 level also looks amazing. But things in 3 and 4 certainly did drop off, but the first half of the series I would definitely recommend for people to rewatch. Or watch if they haven't already. If they haven't seen anything already. Agreed? Disagree?
Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Those
pretty much agree,
were bangers.
I think Bear was maybe the only game where Tato was maybe a little bit checked out. But I think Hidden Force was back to a normal level, but I think just the strategy approach was stronger there for SCCM.
Yeah, and I had this one down as Tato Jordan because I now had the Goss thing. Thinking the Goss thing because of this must be like someone that's training with doubt and has played poorly. But yeah, turned out we're way off on that one. As we'll find out. Doubt did play in the next series as King Stephen. He was up against Slim the Grim, which was Winchester. And it was a 4-2 victory for Doubt in this. We had Bypass, game number 1, Vietnamese versus Spanish. Winchester with a very kind of Mr. Yule pick there. Mudfall was Portuguese versus Armenians. Doubt is kind of obsessed with Armenians and the mule carts these days. We then had Lithuanians and Hinton Forts again, so that's when the The partners practice theory starting to come in a little bit because we've already seen that there. Bengali's from Vinch. Cup, oh my god. We're definitely in GL doubt territory now because he's playing Koreans up against Gujaras, which was kind of interesting. Slopes, come on, doubt. How can you telegraph this anymore? He's got Georgians up against Hindustanis. Oh, and he can telegraph it more because he also played Golfs and Evacuation, as we've already seen, up against Dravidians.
Yeah.
This was an extremely, just based on the civs, it was a very obvious doubt pick for me, and one of the most obvious of the full tournament.
Yeah. No,
I think so. I think. Well, I don't know if it's like a. I think Dowd can play every civ and everything, of course, but like the gameplay screamed out, and then with the experience of Gregory before, it felt like okay, these two were like really close practice partners. And I think Tato and Dowd have a history in Hidden Cup of like always like having very similar drafts. So more than any other teammates, a group of partners.
Yeah, it's like doubt. So for the GL thing, it's more like historically it was always like Doubt and Tato, Jordan and Viper. They're probably the two that are more likely to practice with each other within their little.
I think they will
within their
they
little
will
group.
practice and bounce off ideas of all of them. But then maybe Viper will take a little bit of that and then 75% do his own thing. And Jordan, we don't know how much he was involved this time. I think he will do like maybe the same. But Doubt and Taro, it feels like they will have everything mapped out and they will try to do the same thing. So it was at least this time it was like very very similar drafts. We had almost the same civs picked for Steven and for Gregory, almost the same map draft. It was almost carbon copy,
Except for the
big
result.
giveaway, and
except for the results.
it's such a big like giveaway that somehow they practiced together, and I like missed it somewhere. But I think it was because they played on different OTAs on separate days, and then you're like already cooking yourself so much that you forget to look at the obvious thing, like these two guys picked almost 90% the same draft, and at least that happened to me. Something that was very I did at the start of that. I didn't think it was that play. Obviously, he gave himself away by game 2, but in game 1, the way he defended, it just to me screamed like, "Oh, this might be Jordan playing," because I have seen so many times Jordan does this like little guard tower defense where he drops like a lot of towers in his eco against his opponent, and I was like, yeah, okay, Jordan, I've seen him do this a lot, and other players where you assume it's Tato, but Tato already played the previous set, right? Yesterday as Jamada, so it has to be kind of, I was like, is this Jordan playing? It's not playing that bad, and then there were some Dart castles. It's like, okay, this is Dart play. At least that for me. Also, what was interesting is the evacuation approach wasn't 100% the same, even though the civ was the same for them.
Yeah.
If anyone listened to the GL post Hidden Cup event talk, they started by saying like they had 3 different approaches basically to it, where Viper went for an instant barracks. But he decided it wasn't good enough, though he did beat Dart with it, so he got the bragging rights. Dart went for the more men-at-arm approach, and Tato wanted the early drush approach with it. So like same civ, just cooking different openings for it, which is it's fun as well. So like if you you're upcoming, you see this, and then like, oh, he's gonna do this specific thing, and then it's not that specific thing, so it's actually we didn't end up seeing that later on, like evacuation and goths, like later after they were cast, I think. But there were a lot of different approaches from GL, despite having the same civ on the same map, which is it's nice
Yeah.
to see.
Everyone's got their own touch.
Yeah.
This was a very obviously doubt for me from the beginning. Well, the end of the series, anyway.
Yeah.
Not too sure about Venge being that obvious. I think I had like Venge, ACCM, Yo being a potential one there for some reason, but it was kind of like I think I maybe put the ACCM. Who did I put here?
You put Winchester.
Oh, I did put
So you
Venge.
got it right. Yeah.
And I'm correct. I think this might have been pre-farm.
Yeah, that was pre-farm. You were quite early on saying this is Winch.
Okay.
From
Yeah,
what I
then-
remember.
Then I'm a god. I am a
Yeah, I had ACCM as a potential for Selling the Grim. We had a few clues that, or Mr. Yo as well was one of the possibilities to me. This band of islands, peak of like a mix of like open maps, chaos map, and like closed map with like hidden forts. And yeah, like just like the Spanish pick and a bunch of the strategies that he was doing, it felt a bit Finch like, a bit Yo like. I
Mhm.
think there was one game maybe with like a very, maybe Cup game with like a very late resign, which some players are known for.
ACCM,
Uh,
Yo,
Yeah,
mainly.
yeah. I think Winchester earned the least guest player prize actually this time. So he was Winchester selling the Grim was the player who got guessed the least correctly overall.
Only 888 out of almost 6,000 predictions.
Damn.
Yeah. He beat Tato by 10. So it was actually close. That shows how everyone got caught off guard by Tato's performance.
I enjoyed watching this one. I think it's a good one to go back and watch again. If you, I think it's a watch. If you haven't watched anything out, it's probably a series that's worth watching. I think.
And especially for those who think Monaspas are broken, go watch the Slopes game.
I think the Hidden Forts game was amazing as well. Out raiding with Latius everywhere. It was. I think at some point Winchester had control of the center, but Dalt was like on the outside raiding. I think the Hidden Forts was really good in this series as well.
Oh, I think and then Winch was converting Lightus and counter raiding with them as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Which was it was.
Yeah,
it
he
was
converted Latius and went raiding on the other side.
Yeah, you don't want latest ended up in your own eco because they're brutal. Once you have them, especially once you have the relics in. God, that's a nasty one in your eco. Just smashing villagers. Okay, so nearly getting towards the end of the round of 16. Let's go for our next one. It'll be Khosrau versus Emperor Sigismund, aka Siggy, aka Mr. Yo. That was our first clue. We literally had somebody called Siggy. Of course, it had to be Mr. Yo or ACCM, since they're so well known for their smoking habits. This was a bit of a potential spanner in the works because we had Islands game number 1 here, and I've heard so many people say that it couldn't have been Mr. Yo because why would he want to play Islands game 1? Well, it happened. We had these Civ picks, man. They're just so Mr. Yo, and this is the one thing I couldn't get over with Emperor Sigismund. We had Evacuation, we played Celts, we have High Tides, he played Romans, and Hidden Forts, he had Bohemians, and then he had Hindustanis on Arabia. So Viper had Malians, Arabia, Aztecs on Hidden Forts, the Lithuanians thing, which just came up, Japanese on Evacuation, and Bengalis on Islands. And that was a very Viper draft for me as well. I didn't particularly think Viper from the beginning. Maybe a little bit with the Bengalis, but the Arabia game is very clear for me. Quickly on the Islands game.
That-
I think there was a game of chicken in this draft for Islands. And I think Mr. Yo lost. So when I say a game of chicken, essentially you don't want to waste a ban on a map that you think that your opponent is going to ban themselves. Because you want to ban something else. I think Mr. Yo maybe thought that, didn't obviously know it was Viper, but he maybe thought it's a perfectly plausible situation. Be like, oh, why is Mr. Yo want to play Islands game number 1? And
he was hoping his opponent would go for cross on game 1.
I think,
I would assume.
yeah, I think they were hoping for another result there. But Vipers, with a lot of games on Islands, going to be very comfortable doing that. I think Mr. Yo potentially took a gamble there and didn't pay off. The gameplay didn't look too good on Islands for Mr. Yo, I must say.
That Islands game bamboozled me with my guess. He played it exactly like me. I played in the qualifiers. 5 villages on food, then goes to wood. 2 docks, makes galleys, gets into a faster castle kind of thing. Booms on his island, and he does. Then there's the small thing he did, which was take 2 monks to go grab the relics. I've seen a couple games where people just send 1 monk at a time, kind of thing, and that's like that is just screaming more Mihai and Mihai. And then in late game, he was deleting all his farm villages, and again when I was looking, it's like this is exactly what Mihai did in all the qualifiers. I was like, this has to be Mihai, and I stuck with that until the end. And I know I shouldn't have, but I was like, I'm committed just based on this Islands game. This looked like Mihai playing. I can't change despite kind of it probably deep inside knowing this is wrong, but I had to stick with it, and it despite nothing else of the after that Island, nothing screamed me high, but I had to stick with it.
You got stuck in your ways. You made the cardinal sin in terms of the guessing game. And that's getting so zoned in one thing and thinking.
It's not staying humble.
It's definitely not staying humble, and it's definitely not staying humble. The one thing for me was the Celts game was super fun. The Elite Ward Raider, Heavy Scorpion, Romans, Bohemians, all very Yosefs, and then you combine them all 3 together. It was like, man, surely this is Yo.
Yeah, I got bamboozled by the draft, I think, and the bad thing about that is after that I queried Wikipedia, looking at Yo's history with Islands, and I think maybe there was a misconception that Yo is bad on Islands because the last time in Hidden Cup he kind of threw that game against Finch, that just went for Celts on Islands and just went for a bad landing or whatever. But since then, he has been pretty good on Islands. He's mostly a Portuguese player on Islands, or he used to. We haven't seen Islands, Islands being played at the high level since 2022, I think. Maybe in Warlords 1, it was played. And Yo wins Island against top players. In the Open Classic, which he won against Lear in the final, he won every Island game that he played, including against Viper and against Leary. So yeah, he's a very solid player. I think against Tado as well. So very solid player in Islands. I thought that he would bind Islands because he's even better on Cross and Gold Rush. But actually, it makes sense that he would ban Gold Rush. I recall against Hera in Warlords 2, that was the only game he lost in the when they met in the group stage. So yeah, I wasn't humble, and I have been humbled by Yo in this set.
I think I was on some heavy copium, because he was probably one of my favorite players to watch. I didn't want him to be out, but I think after the Arabia game, where we started to see the Viper castles go right across the middle of the map, I was like, okay, I can see YOLO isn't 4-1 to Viper, and that started things in the bracket were starting to click into place. I wasn't 100% on YOLO, and after the round of 16, I still had some cooking to do, putting some people in the right places, but I was fairly certain it was Viper.
Yeah.
It was still a fun series to watch, in all honesty. It was still good.
Yeah, I think Viper probably made Yo look a little bit worse than he actually was, because
Mhm.
Viper can have that effect on players. So yeah, in the end, just like unlucky draw for Yo getting Viper in the first round, but this can happen with random seeding. Because maybe one of the few drawbacks of random seeding is that you could have like 2 top 4 players face off in round 1, but this is one of the sacrifices we make for the good of Hidden Cup.
And they could be stacked on the same side.
Yeah.
Imagine. It's gonna happen one of these times.
Oh, just imagine Viper, Hera, Leary, someone else.
Tato, maybe? All in the top 4.
Yeah. Yep. No, but like all in the same. All in
Yeah,
the
like
same
the top
side.
4 of the bracket, yeah. And then like 2 of them are gone within 2 games.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I wouldn't mind seeing that once. I think it would be, and somewhere another upset happens along the way, so you have like people who are not, like, you wouldn't consider top 5, top 6 players end up being in the final. I think that'd actually be really like cracked in a with what we get in the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. We've not had it happen
Yet. It's doable. But we'll see one of these days if we get another one. Let's move on to Sebastian versus Sato and Sebastian, 2 debutants in Hidden Cup 5. Never been here before, so I'm sure both of them are feeling excited and a little bit nervous. We had some kind of standardish maps that were kind of expected for players, like Arabia, game number 1. Both players are going to be really happy to play on that. I think both players extremely happy to play on Cross. The Malay Fishbone there for Sato, who's done that in other tournaments. Sebastian going for the Huns, and they have the Foxy alarm bells going. And then we had Islands, the very end game, as many people were telling us that Sato is somebody that's very comfortable in Islands. We're playing it in qualifiers quite a bit. And I had major Sato vibes for Jan Žižka. Right from that Malay game, Alfred, I was a little bit worried, but everyone seemed pretty set that Sebastian was Alfred. For me, I couldn't really get over the Huns on the cross thing since the training partner theory with Mihai. I don't know what you guys thought. If anything else stuck out.
This is not a set I've been able to watch entirely, so I definitely trusted the general opinion on that set. And yeah,
pretty much same. My first predictions for it was Sebastian against Viper.
What the hell?
I
Don't tell us to do that.
I mean, the viewers guessed Viper for
but I didn't go with
Žižka in
that.
round 1.
I just wanted to believe that Khosrau in the previous set was somebody imitating Viper. That was like my early predictions. Like it did end up being like I moved it over to Sato, but like I just like, because there was like the buildings, like, oh, they placed Viper light, but they bit off. And I was like, this felt like somebody imitating Viper, and I could actually see Leering playing like that in the end, like that specific game as well. It's like, I think Leary can do this. Maybe I'm completely wrong in that in that way, but so my early was like, oh, this Viper. Kind of wanted to believe. Talking about the cross game, I actually find it interesting because Mihai didn't play Huns once in the qualifiers on cross. He always went Persians.
Okay.
They probably got banned this time by himself. Lol.
You mean Sebastian?
Yeah. Alfred. That was the hero I was rooting for, and
yeah, I was hoping for an
Probably
Alfred
not.
result as well. I mean, we have an alpaca with a crown on. How could you not want to root for them?
Exactly, and he has some attitude on him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just that's just a side note. What you call it, like the Huns pick, but it's probably very likely that he would default to something that it's very likely he has seen quite a bit in practice and maybe even played in practice after what he would usually playing, being like I would say more cav focused. But Huns aren't not a cav focused themselves. You can play them two ways, kinda. One of the few civs. I'm struggling to remember though much of this series. I don't know why.
The cross game, like the first few games, especially, and then the Islands game with their Armenian mirror for me.
Yeah.
Armenians clearly the
I think
most
the
cracked
the
piece of-
Arabia game the Arabia game threw a lot of people off a little bit on this one. Because Sito played it very Viper-like as well. Like, you know, minimal. Like, he went feudal. Like, he went for very early walls, very late feudal, and then he played this kind of like greedy boom style that Viper is known for, and that's not traditionally associated with Sito. You know, like people would say Sito is like, I don't know, like 15 pop up, send one build shot forward, and do that kind of stuff. But he's a complete player. He can do different stuff as well. So I think that probably could have thrown a little bit of people off. I don't remember a whole lot from this set. Unfortunately, I need to rewatch it.
So,
or should I rewatch it? That's the question.
I think it's a decent series to watch. I think at this point, as you go on in the week, it is quite taxing watching the tournament because you can't just sit back and enjoy it. I feel like so much of your mental capacity is also taken up with trying to work things out. I think it's very difficult to just kind of sit back and be like, okay, I'm just watching Viper versus whoever it is. And it's a nice spectacle. I'm too busy trying to notice things and theorize. It's tricky. I need a better balance for next time.
I want to on the set. I want to say one last thing. So it was Sebastian first. Well, not first, but second top 16. He also in the S tier. He also made the top 16 of King of the Desert.
Oh, true.
And I think a lot of people were expecting him to do maybe better than that. To like there was like high hopes on Sebastian being like the player that has the potential to go very far. Has very high skills. Very very fast. I think he's like top 3 in speed, just behind Hare and Hart. And he gets matched against Sito, who also happens to be historically his worst matchup so far. Sito and Barles are like the only 2 players he has faced 3 times before and always lost. And so yeah, that's his 4th meeting against Sito in a top tournament and 4th loss. So like maybe stylistically Sito doesn't work very well again for him. So yeah, that's interesting that it happened this way.
I said Sebastian was gonna make a deep run.
He was my wild card kind of pick, and I always kind of felt a little bit nervous about Sebastian going deep. Like low percentages, but I still wasn't 100% sure towards the very end because like, there's some potential there. I had a very good qualifiers and still took 2 games off the toes. Nothing to be ashamed of. A very solid performance all round. Let's go into our last one of the round of 16. That was Leary versus Ganji. Leary as Alexios, and then Ganji as Robert Giscard. Is that a good pronunciation?
Yes.
You don't sound too convinced. So cross game 1 was Malians versus Japanese. Gold Rush, which was the one for Ganji playing Burgundians there against Khmer. We then had Dravidians winning over Berbers. bypass strategy, trading partner theory coming in, Turks again for Leary versus Genji's Britons, then we had islands at the very end, which was Italians versus Portuguese. This, it didn't, honestly, for Alexios, for me, it didn't look. We got the Leary vibes a little bit later on in the tournament. It didn't look super, super clean, but it was still a 4-1 at the end of the day. But if I think you could still feel there was a bit of a difference here in the players, but we weren't getting Leary vibes yet, I think, to be honest.
Yeah.
No.
Both me and you, Paradox, we predicted hard
Yeah, so
in our early predictions.
So we're on the AM track because we have the Turks thing on bypass. So it's like either gonna have to be Weary or it's gonna have to be Hart most likely, or MBL. But MBL's gonna do his own thing, right? So the free sharing strats would be, of course, Terraformer AM who's still gonna practice with Hart and he's still gonna practice with Weary. I think he's more likely to practice with Hart just based on time zone. To be honest, I kind of filled in Hart in that one. We're on the right track.
Yeah.
It's actually
Yeah, we also did not know how much Leary was practicing because he was coming off this like pretty bad performance at NAC 5. So that was like the big unknown considering on his current form.
I think there was a little bit of me that maybe considered that Leary could have been Alfred based on that kind of knowledge and info. Maybe underperform, like if he's bringing the NEC form, maybe the same thing could happen. But I was informed that he had been practicing somewhat. To what degree, I'm not 100% sure. That could mean anything. That could mean a few hours or a few days or a week or two.
Going on to his opponent, Ganji. I was instantly on the Ganji hype. As Robert.
Tell us why.
That bowler on evacuation with the villager. I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah.
I posted in Discord chat. That was the cleanest bowler I've seen in like long distance, with the way he dropped those palisades and instantly deleted them just to make that ball go. Keep that distance, and you could see there's a bit of a skill gap between the two players, but that instantly, at least for me, it's like, okay, there's only I can only think of one player who does this, and that is Ganji. I know some people I think said Jordan, but Jordan, I've seen him lure balls on Black Forest. It's not that clean. It can't be Viper. Viper's kind of a gate person when it comes to luring balls. So it instantly just that's Ganji, because I was very confident on balls being on the other Pachacuti by then through process of elimination kind of, and I was like, that one moment was sold it for me. He actually had he had a really solid game on Gold Rush. Where he won.
That was the Burgundians versus Khmer.
Yes, it was a pretty good one. So it shows it could again be it's his first. I think I might be wrong, but it's his first S tier 1v1 event appearance. Eventually,
it is, isn't it?
So it could be
so he has been top 12, I think, in TTL season 3 or season 2, something like that.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, yes. TTL strictly as an S tier tournament. Going by Wikipedia.
Yeah, I didn't think of TTL.
And I mean, that's part of the problem. Don't disrespect the TTL. It's kind of I don't think a lot of people do think about TTL in terms of S tiers.
They actually lost to Leary in that one.
Yeah. There was not so many new matchup actually. I had this table of matchup, and I was looking and there's like a bunch of 0-0. I was hoping we could see some matchup actually happen that we have never seen before. I don't know, like Leary against Sebastian, for example, or Genji against Winchester. Barles against Leary as well. You know, like this kind of matchup haven't happened yet. But no, we all only had, I think, matchup that have already happened in the past. Even Mihai, who has the least experience, had already played against Jordan 3 times in tournaments before.
Well, I guess there's going to always be next time.
Yeah.
So that was the conclusion of our round of 16. We did have a short prediction of our round of 16. Let's just quickly look at it. And I got 8. Hang on, let me just switch over here. So for Vashko the Gamma, we all said Terra, so we were all spot on there. I put this, so this is where I was cooking, guys. I think what I posted on Twitter before we did this, I was like, okay, I'm gonna cook something up. And then the next day, as soon as like 2 series are played, I was like, man, I've made a big mistake. I've made a big mistake here. And things started to fall into place afterwards. But you guys actually had Pachikuti as Barrels, which was correct. None of us had the right one for Samanguru. Of course, did win 4-1. I put Levy for that one because I'm like, man, who is Levy here? I've got Heart down at the bottom. You guys had both had Yo. We were like, man, it's Mr. Yo. Of course, he must have won, right? Mr. Yo.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I didn't. That was not the case. So none of us got Samanguru after the round of 16. I had Mihai, and so did Tarzus for Jean Barreau. Panda was going for Vinchester. So we're still 3 for 4 here between the 3 of us. Is not too bad. You had Viga, Barrels, Sato, and Tarzus had Heart. So well done, Tarzus, for getting that after the round of 16. We of course all had MBL for Otto, which is very obvious. And the most obvious one, of course, we all had Jordan and we all had Tato for Gajimada and Gregory. Which we were on the complete opposite end of that, because it turns out Tato was actually Greg. Yikes. King Stephen, we all had correct as Doubt. I was the only one with Winchester on Salem. You guys both had the CCM. Think maybe getting debated by the weight resign a little bit. Tarzus and I both had Viper as Khosrau. Panda was just cooking up something. He had Levy down in that one, which
I cooked even more before that. I had Heart play as Khosrau before I settled on my first 16. So
you were cooking something up here.
Indeed.
This is another one where we actually had all different answers for Emperor Sigismund. I was going the ACCM right for this one, which did make sense at the time. Panda went Mihai, of course, getting tunnel visioned by the Islands game. Ours is going for Winchester, which is another one you could potentially see. There's like the ACCM, Winchester, and Yo Trio, and you can't even tell them apart by server now because Winchester is also in Asia. So that makes it even more difficult for players, I'm sure. We all had Sebastian down as Alfred, so good honours for that one. Tarzus copied me once again, clearly, for Zanjiska, because he had Sato too. And Panda was cooking it up with Viper. Alexios, we both had to Heart, that's myself and Panda, and then Tarzus had Leary, so he got that one. And despite us all having Ganji as Robert Giscard, probably likely for a process of elimination, this one did give us many more issues as the tournament went on, which we'll kind of touch on as maybe a couple things go, but probably not too much. But we did actually have Ganji right from the very beginning, but man, it was not an easy one to actually settle on by the end. We did all right. I got 8.
11 out of 16 actually back then already. But then, things were about to happen in the later rounds.
We did pretty decent. I think we can be happy with that. Panda, how many did you have right?
Final or in the
after the round of 16?
In this back then round of 16.
Let's see, 1, 2.
So Herbra, Barrow.
Yeah, you had 6.
Okay, only 6.
I mean, that's what happens when you cook. You have to, if you're gonna cook, you have to cook early on, and then you start to work things out. That's when you have to
I
do it.
didn't even really go deep into this. A lot of us is like, I want to believe kind of thing. For some of them.
All right, moving on to the quarterfinals, which was still a best of 7 stage. What just round? OBS, there we go. We had Hera Vashko the Gamma winning his series 4-0 against Suman Guru, which we now know as Jordan. The other one was Otto the Great versus Gajamada, 4-2 in that one there for ACCM. Out and Viper once again, as we just had them in NEC there. Khosrau winning that one 4-2 over King Stephen, and then we had the Weary versus Sato, Alexios versus Jan Juska, which was also 4-1. So we didn't have a 4-3 in this round. From the very top, Hera versus Jordan, guys. This was total and brutal domination. And we've heard some rumours that potentially that Jordan wasn't well prepared for the tournament. In fact, some rumours that potentially Jordan didn't play his first game since NEC until he played Mihai. And in fairness, it kind of looked like it in the series versus Hera, because Hera was... Man, he was on one this game, especially the hidden forts. I'm just going to boom up. Like, every game was a massive boom game for Hera and just take one fight and win, essentially. It's definitely not a series to go and watch unless you're into that kind of thing, you know.
It was not close. Probably the most dominant series Hera played.
Yes. And I got to feel sorry for Margugu in that one, because he was brought into co-cast and it was like, wah, wah. It was like done so quickly, and it's like, okay guys, I have to go now.
For me, that is the game that's made me as like, okay, this is Jordan, as Suman Guru. That cemented me. It just felt like such a massive, because I was confident in all my other picks, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the one that it's like, yeah, I it's definitely not Yo as I thought earlier.
Yeah. And this is when I started to realise that I'd made the mistake as well, because I put Weary potentially Suman Guru. And I'm like,
well, maybe Leary of NAC, but I think
yes, I still had that potential in the back of my mind, but I was like, I think I've made a big mistake here. I was like, oh no. And it kind of confirmed a little bit. I was like, okay, I can easily see Jordan losing to Hera, and I can still see him winning 4-1 against Mihai. So those two things made sense to me there. Yeah, I mean, there's honestly not too much to talk about this series. It was just there.
Yeah.
Fortunately. The next series of the day, though, MBL versus ACCM, that was a good one. We had Quarry in here. We had MBL going for Spanish again. Very MBL-like. You also seen the Tutans pick and Hidden Fort. We've seen the start of the ACCM. Fury started to really kick on in this one. He did have Mudflow where he picked Poles. Jordan's again came up in Evacuations, of course, with the 2-hour game against against Gregory, which was eventually found out Potato. But I had massive ACCM alarm bells in this one because of the Poles pick and how long he took to reside in this game. It was at least going on for 15 minutes more than it ever had any right to be.
That made me believe the theories that he beat Tato in the first round.
There was definitely some alarm bells starting to go off here. You're like, is Nikov, has he been right all this time?
Also, a bit going into the draft, I was a bit flabbergasted at ACCM using polls on Mudflow.
Do you know what? I see the reasoning though. Like, it's a very open map. You're gonna want to farm anyway. You have regen on the Vels eventually. You're gonna have this big influx of
pick.
Yeah, I can see the reasoning. I can see the reasoning there.
His first, not his hidden pick, right? His first pick, which meant like MBL can't use this either, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is was Khmer, which meant he wouldn't have used Khmer. And Khmer is probably, at least going into this tournament, I would have said Khmer is the second best civ on the map after Chinese.
Just because you can hide, like the farming, you can hide in the houses. Such an open. It makes a lot of sense.
And it's predominantly a scout-heavy map, and I get the polls reasoning, but they're just a slow civ to get going at the start. And this is not the map where you have the time for that. And all the meta kind of shifted to it being Magyars in the end, which I can also see a reasoning for. There, because you can be very aggressive, because your scouts are just, your damage output is so much. But I was thinking like, yo, you have like, you have the best civ available on the map. Why aren't you using it? But the results still went in his favor in the end.
Yeah, and NBL using Magyars to very good effect in that game. He was all over ACCM. That was probably, actually, even with the late resign, that was probably one of the matches to watch there.
Yeah.
Well, I think the Bay game.
The Bay game as well. Yeah, okay. With the, I mean, this, if you're ever concerned about auto being NBL,
yeah, just watch the Query game.
This and the Quarry game. Oh my god, yes. So the Quarry game with the double lane right for the beginning, and somehow NBL still managing to lose it. It was one of the few games that ACCM did not place his first farm in his usual spot, and that shows you how stressed he was, guys. The farm theory was in the bin on that one because he's just stressing out. -2 boars, 2 sheep as well, was it not?
Wasn't it 4 sheep?
4 sheep? Christ. That is it's rough. That's not what you want to happen. It was, and the thing is,
super angry.
And it was super lucky. Like 2 boards the same side. Like imagine, I think you said this, Panda. Imagine if the boards were on the other side, if the valves went to the other side, and your whole like strategy is essentially it would not work.
Yes, although you could say on the other hand that it allows NBL to do that sneak that he did. I think it was, who did he do that sneak against? Oh no, it was Stark who did the sneak and then it failed. But like just walk. No, NBL did that as well in the qualifiers. Like you just sneak villages and then you build archery ranges. So in theory, it would have still played out for him, but that whole opening made me angry. One, because it was so easy for him to lame like that. I personally wouldn't like. I'd like 2 balls that like basically spawning within 5 tower radius of each other.
that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, like that kind of thing. It was just way too easy, and there's no counterplay to it, in my opinion. In that sense, right? He walled 2 villages in on 1 tile, and he killed 2 balls, and he could have. I know people were saying, "Oh, he wanted to keep his scout HP alive." Oh, his scout alive, but like he should have gone for the risk to actually kill the balls with his scout. He had enough HP left, and that. I think that might have been what helped ACCM get in or stay in it, because he the berries was also close, and he just dropped the mill on the berries and then long distance.
Yeah, it wasn't too far.
The balls, yeah, but MPL should have won from that position, despite having 2 villages forward all the time. It's
I think definitely a game we would have liked to have back, considering the start. But ACCM somehow pulling through in that one. The Bay game was certainly the other game that kind of stuck in the mind with the 1 villager sneak. It could have been spotted for the mere 2 or 3 tiles that was visible. It never was. And there was essentially a siege workshop right in the corner of the base, and sneaking a villager on Bay is not easy, because it's not like you can just go directly across the map. You have to navigate through alongside the water. It's a very long route to get to the other side of the map. It's not just a straight line.
Also, I think that was the first hidden forts game in that series where in the whole tournament neither player went for the middle. the extra food at the start. Usually it was one player, or I think there was one set where both players went for them early. And this was the first one where neither player went for the middle until Castle Age, or at least where MBL went, he tried to like push through the middle, while ACCM boomed at the outside, which I found it interesting because there's 12 rhinos in the middle
And gold. So you
and gold.
maybe want to take control of that area, because there is certainly a good long-term reward. It's not just like the short term, it's a good long-term reward as well, having the map control of it. Yeah, it's interesting, that happened.
It was an entertaining series.
I think it was a
the
series.
Best. To me, it was the best series of the quarterfinals, and one of the contenders for best in the tournament. It was a great set.
I think generally just NBL games, Auto games, I think they were probably just the best games to watch of the full tournament. For me.
I can't disagree with that.
Yeah. I mean, even I'd say some Hera games are very impressive to watch, like the slopes games, the bypass games in round one. This is just like pure domination. It's so impressive, but MBL brings something that's really new and super exciting. So yeah, I think for me, the MBL CCM set was the best.
Here's the funny thing, but we all knew it was MBL.
Yeah.
So maybe that was part of the magic of it. He's playing quite well. He was doing NBL things. Let's put it that way. As I kind of touched on with the Doubt Viper one, I had very similar flashbacks to the NEC series in terms of the kind of back and forth, but maybe flipped around a little bit. If Viper ended up 2-0 up, this draft was super strange from Doubt. He had second pick Aztecs for Islands. You're probably thinking about some Siege Monk forward landing and shenanigans there, but Viper picked up Vikings in the very end of his draft, which are still going to favour by quite a lot. Doubt had of course, he had the Goths again on Evacuation, Koreans on Cup, had the Mudfall mirror of Chinese once again, another Eliarch Civ of Dravidians versus Italians on Bay, and then of course the bypass where he has Armenians, which was a very interesting game. Probably the game of the series, I would say, in that one. It was a bypass game, the Armenians versus Portuguese.
It was pretty good. Circling back to the start of the set on Islands, Dad said today, I'm totally giving away the GL discussion thing here. Too long, don't watch, kind of. But Dad said he beat Hera with Aztecs.
Oh, for God's sakes!
Yes.
This
Hera said he rage GG'd. That's
oh my
the
God.
only reason. But so the plan was, I think watching it you could get the idea. Dad dropped a barracks on his home island and he made eagles from it. And then he goes and drops a barracks and a monastery and then the workshop on the other island. And then he transports eagles from his main island over with the Castle Age timing. But he said he messed up his timings. And to make matters worse, tried to snap the transport ship apparently with eagles in it. So it could have turned out a completely different game, because I don't think Viper would have had anything to deal with 5 eagles when he hit Castle Age, because he dropped TCs before he scouted Doubt's landing. So there's potential for it, and I actually think Doubt played a really good in Feudal Age. Doubt held his own on Islands, which you wouldn't necessarily assume from him, with micro and stuff like that. And by then, I think most people were confident that, this is Viper, and he's just gonna get destroyed. I think Doubt had he made Viper react on Islands in Feudal Age, I felt like.
Well, the thing is with Aztecs, they're not a bad early game Civ for water, because you do have the faster producing military. So you can you can pump out the galleys pretty decently, and their eco is all right as well. They can do decent enough things. The late game's a little bit odd. The note about the Eagles is quite interesting because you don't know about Eagles. Eagles get buffed massively just from going from feudal to Castle Age. 4 attack to 7 attack. They get. Did they get extra HP on the edge up as well?
Don't think so. I know this, but I don't know this. It's just the attack, and yeah, it's just the attack.
And they create faster.
Yeah, so the production speed is of course huge if you want to pump them out. Getting free extra attack is huge. Like if you have something that's exposed, 5 eagles with 7 attack each, you're gonna lose villagers relatively fast.
Especially, I don't know, some people still are stubborn to not get Gloom on islands. No, I think Viper had it. It was not like the Armenians game Doubt had, where he didn't.
Yeah, that wasn't the
lost.
game. That's not the game where you have to be concerned about somebody getting Loom. That was definitely the bypass game, which was just so unbelievably doubt. Goodness.
What else? That cup game was great from Doubt. I think with the tower play.
Yeah, it's interesting,
with
really.
I enjoyed it because it was kind of like this. Basically, he beat Viper with strategy. Even though the execution was maybe a bit flawed. But yeah, I definitely I enjoyed the set, not as much as maybe some of the other sets, but it was a really good one. You kind of were like, I don't know, maybe it was just me, but like kind of this rooting for Doubt. Can he pull this off? Can he outsmart Viper?
And I think most people knew it was Zeta by this point as well. That's the thing. So.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I feel like, for me at least, when it's Doubt against Viper, I know Viper is gonna win in the end. It's like, I know Doubt can take wins. He has beaten Viper in some tournament sets. But usually, even though Doubt can sometimes give Viper a run for his money, Viper ends up on top. So
consistently,
there is something almost inevitable about Viper beating his teammates, except Tato in recent times, and obviously Hera is a teammate now. So, but like against Doubt, I feel like Viper is gonna win, And so the question is, how many games can Doubt take before he inevitably loses to Viper? That being said, the set was very close. The mouthful game could have gone the other way, and bypass was. I don't think Doubt ever had like a position to win. I don't think the Loom thing would have changed anything.
I mean, he didn't help himself.
Yeah, that was definitely very entertaining. It didn't help him.
I see your point, but he certainly did not help himself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, last one of the quarterfinals was Sato versus Leary, Janjiska versus Alexios. Wasn't the best of series for Sato. Probably not the fashion you want to go out on, but this is when you start to get the massive Leary vibes, 100%, because the Expo micro was on point. The Mango micro, it was certainly on point for Leary, but it felt like Sato wasn't exactly playing to his full potential there, especially in the Islands game with the landing. I think he was the only one that played Koreans on Islands on the qualifiers as well. So that was another kind of alarm bell going for Sato. Janjiska confirmed. But man, that last game on Islands was... It was a bit sad. I was like... I feel like... Yeah, I don't think it was Sato playing to his full potential. Let me say that.
I actually thought the first couple of games that I watched. Oh, I never went. I never went back to that. I had to go to bed early that night because I had to work the next day, so I never caught up on those games. But I thought the first like 2 games were kind of like, it felt like AoE on crack.
The Arabia
like,
game
it
was
was
fun. The Arabia game was fun, man. It was like mangoes everywhere as well, if I remember.
and even I'm not sure, but wasn't the cross game as well pretty like I feel like I remember it also being like I was like these guys are like they were kind of having a go at each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it
Which,
was like fast, aggressive, quick games.
yeah, and I was like, wow. And for a moment, I was like, is this maybe a Sebastian? Because I had the same feeling was when I was watching Sebastian in the qualifiers. But I did settle with the Cito kind of like Leary in the end. But I enjoyed those the two games that I did watch. I really enjoyed them. I was that micro. Even maybe Cito might have had a bit of an off day. What really impressed me though is Leary didn't fully convince me in the first round with this level. Like he didn't play bad, but he was
It was,
okay.
yeah,
And
it seemed like a typical kind of weary opening.
yeah, but to make it like the level he played in the quarterfinals, which was 2 days later, like that blew me away. Like it felt like he really upped his level. It's almost like he went from normal into Super Saiyan instantly. Or like he skipped a couple levels
Without all the hard
somewhere. Which,
training in between.
yeah, it's like it's so, and that actually made me excited for the coming day. Yeah, to see like at least like building up to it.
Yeah, because then we're thinking about a Viper Leary semi-final. We're thinking about Hera there, and it was even going into the semi-finals. There was still a large amount of debate who Gajamada was, and a lot of people maybe still aren't convinced. But it did turn out to be Hera ACCM in the first semi-final, which we kind of talked about Hera going, well, in the first series especially, going out in a 3-0 lead. And to me, it felt like a little bit Hera taking his foot off the gas, maybe getting slightly complacent. I mean, with all due respect. The ACCM sticking in there to take the game on Islands, take the game on Bay, and then we had the final game on Cup there with Kamar Eco just being way too good. It's disgusting to see Kamar farms pop off when you have 50 of them, I have to say.
Especially in Castle.
Yeah,
When you see that farm count go up, man, it's
I
actually crazy to watch the food come in.
yeah, I agree with you. Like with the Hera maybe taking his foot off the gas a little bit on Islands, and then Bay happens, and Bay he was playing seriously, 100% committed, but strategy wise, ACCM outsmarts him and takes the win, and I think that's like maybe like a little scare, like you were up 3-0 and suddenly you're back like to 3-2. And Hera actually said that he was afraid he would get reverse swept at this point. And I think there was like maybe a real chance. The last game would have been High Tides. I think Lithuanians for CCM and probably Malians for Hera, like classic matchup that has happened all tournaments on this map. So yeah, Hera won that a couple of times, so I think he probably would have been fine. But still, yeah, that was like a pretty good set. I think Hera, ACCM gave Hera a run for his money, even though it felt like maybe Hera adapted a little bit more to the earlier stages. So, for example, ACCM plays Saracens on Hidden Forts, and he has done that against MBL, and he has done that against Taro. And Hera watched those games, obviously, because now it's semifinals. The previous 2 rounds have been streamed, and so he just adapted better to Hidden Forts and completely neutralized ACCM on that map. Although it had been like a very strong map for ACCM in the previous 2 rounds, I think maybe ACCM did not adapt to what he had seen from Hera at this point as much as Hera adapted to what he had seen from ACCM.
And just to clarify, like the players hadn't seen them either. This is the thing. So it was all played in private completely.
No. This round they did see.
So yeah, the first 2 rounds had been played privately, but then when they arrived at the semifinals,
Yeah.
like the semifinal was live, so
Exactly,
they had
yeah.
time to see the match, the previous matches casted on
So
Twitch.
I'm gonna put time under quotation marks there. It's not a lot of time, right? There's obviously some
Yeah.
theory crafting and stuff to do, but it's a small amount of time. Let's just put it that way. The point is definitely spot on. Like going for the same thing, probably not adapting the play. If we're gonna say that about Hidden Forwards, I think we really have to touch on the Mudflow game quickly. We lost the previous series with it, and it was a bit of a disaster start for ACCM and not the best way to start. Having to go up against Magyars, and he looked rather shaky game one, to say the least. It was a very quick game. These Mudfall games generally have been quite quick, to be honest, as they went on. But he did well to pull back, got it to 3-2, and it was just a little step too far. But it was it was the best performance any other player had against her in a tournament.
Mm-hmm. I actually thought he was in a really good position on evacuation. I was actually thinking, oh, he's gonna win this, and I left thinking, okay, we're going to the next game soon, and when I came back, Hera ended up winning. But maybe it was me misreading what the game was. I think it could have easily gone to the fourth game.
Yeah, like the opening from ACCM was a lot of fun.
Game.
Like he had the forward range, the skirms, towers. He made it very messy, which I think is great for ACCM. It's a kind of, if he wants to play that kind of style, he very much can do that.
And it was a good reaction after game one.
Mm-hmm.
It felt
for sure.
It felt like it was more like it can't get any worse than this.
Yeah, it was good mental strength, I think.
I know you said playing the same strategy on hidden forwards, but ACCM didn't. If I remember correctly, he made scouts this time, and Hera just went FC boom.
He made like 3, right? It wasn't a lot.
But it still slows you down because he didn't have the extra food in the middle.
Yes. Well,
and then he went for the side range, which he dropped. Like he walked like halfway to Hera, dropped the range, and then instead of where you think, okay, you build a siege workshop to push it, then he walked those walls back. He only did one range, and by the time like he got his 30C up, Hera was already like on 5 and 30 walls ahead.
yeah,
I think if ACCM just played like he did the previous 2 rounds, he would have been in a way better position.
That's fair enough.
Maybe a bit of mind games going on within himself.
Yeah, I think it's that part where my opponent saw what I did the previous 2 rounds, so I had to change it up. But sometimes you don't have to change it up. Especially, I think Hidden Force is kind of a bit more straightforward map to play. It's not like evacuation. It's kind of like you can boom and then just play the imp game on it because it's a bit more of a slower map. And I think if ACCM did it, we could have seen like Teuton against Saracen SO, Mamelukes against Paladin, like that more interesting counter plays. But the way Hera played that though, it was absolute domination. You had Paladin and SO, right? If I remember.
It was very strange. I think he had 60 on gold in the middle.
It was 70 at one point.
Oh my, like just ridiculous.
Yes, it was.
He
adapted well to it.
He was getting to his death ball very slowly, but he did get there eventually because he could.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that game in particular was quite stompy. Obviously, the Mudfall game, but the other games are certainly good. Definitely a good series to watch.
Yeah,
it was the most competitive series with Hera in it. The other one on the other semi-final was Leary versus Viper. Viper took the first game on Cup Koreans versus Saracens. Partner practice partner theory was Levy now using the Saracen's Cup theory, which came from Hart. But he did get trushed by Viper, which was kind of funny to see actually with Koreans. And
I
then
enjoyed it.
yeah, the rest of the series was interesting. The high tide. So the first semi-final was live. Second one was recorded games. I think if it was live, the high tides game potentially gets restarted. It was a bugged map. There's no other way to put it around it. It didn't have an influence in the game in the end, but I think it's still a map that probably should have been restarted to have the options. We then had Islands with Dravidians or Viper and Italians, and we also had map issues with that one as well, apparently, with Viper Weary playing on Hidden Cup 4 for 45 minutes. Viper thinks he's in a good position. They then have to restart once they realise it's the wrong map, because it doesn't generate the same way as the Hidden Cup 5 one. So I think this time, at this point, the mental's probably not great. The Chinese game on Mudflow against Magyars, Viper kind of fallen into same traps, playing super greedy, not really. To me, that was a weird one, but it was almost very Viper-esque in terms of how he loses games these days. And then we had Gajaras versus Mongols to finish on a hybrid map. You don't usually see Gajaras on a hybrid map because they don't get the dock timing in comparison to other civs, especially Mongols who have quick hunt.
Yeah.
Jeez. It was a strange series for me to watch. There was a lot to unpack on it in terms of like the gameplay and how it played out.
The set was actually played on Friday.
Oh, so that was the day before. Okay.
Yeah, so that's. I think if it was live, probably wouldn't have gotten into the having to replay islands, and high tides maybe would have gotten admin, but I'm not so sure about that because the wood was quite a bit in Leary's favor, but he also like the way the map spawned. He was extra far away from the water.
Yeah, like it was bad for both players in different ways, but it was definitely a bugged map because that top tide line should be straight, right? Where it was a wee bit skew up at the top. It was a little bit lifted. Some land not generating right.
That is how the map should be spawning. I'm trying to think what there was something about this. The cup game that was kind of Viper. I want to say showing what Doubt did against him the day before, but on an execution, more cleaner execution level.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that. The High Tides game. It's not my favorite map, so I tend to zone out a bit on it. Islands, I missed the start of that because of something, but once Leary was ahead, and it was like early, like just having that extra 30 seconds to a minute on islands faster to castle age.
His galley micro was really good as well, must be said. In Feudal Ages, galley micro was absolutely on point.
Yeah. Mudflow, I think Viper said again in the GL discussion that he changed his approach because, like, kind of, I don't want to say he mind gamed himself, but it's like he played against Doubt. Doubt did this, and it counted him, and then he's like, okay, maybe I should do what Doubt did, even though they both played Chinese, very similar way, and then he just kind of got. I don't know, honestly, got behind, but like then he is like, okay, I want to get to Castle Age, but once you commit to that idea, especially on a map, on like Mudflow, I don't think you can feasibly get away with getting that past the castle. But like once you commit to that, you're kind of stuck, and you have to stay on it.
Yeah, and Levy got upgrades on scouts at the just the best moment on the up. Ended up getting bloodlines and armor because he's obviously got free attack as Magyars, and who upgraded the Magyar scouts running around your bases Not what you really want when you don't have a lot of army to defend and you're on the way up to Council Age.
Indeed. And then there's good Jaros on Bay. Doesn't feel like a Viper pick.
It was odd. I think it was just strange.
I actually would pick them, as silly as it sounds. Like, I can see how to, like, I think, in theory, I think I know what Viper would play it, and that's, like, kind of how I would play it. But the problem is you cannot match Mongols with Gujaras on the map.
Not with like
Isn't
the
that
timings.
the intent though? Like, are you not going Gorjaras for the Shivamshas to counter
Yeah, but it's just
Megudai?
like you.
Leary had like I think Leary won from imp timing and Viper. Well, imp timing happened because Viper overinvested in Castle Age aggression. But let's say they're evenly matched coming into Imperial Age. Do you think that Gorjaras? I think Gorjara's composition in imp is pretty good against Mongols. So I think that was maybe the rationale behind that.
I mean, same timing for. I think same timing for Gujaras is. It's probably unlikely though. The main issue I just have is with the dock and delaying the dock. He actually did decent damage to take out the fish, but
He won water. He actually won water. He had like a 10
yes,
2 KD.
But Weary has all of the early economy boost to get the game going, you know?
Yeah.
I don't. It was just a strange one. And then even Weary just made a shit ton of pike to complement the Mangadai, and then you're gonna have to make chakrams from your castles, which is not exactly ideal.
Or easy to get to.
Yes.
I think Leary just approached it better. He gave up water at the right time and went for the boom. And also, I'm skipping through the what Leary got farms up very fast compared to Viper.
Hang on, I think this was another game that Viper got heavy plow when he most likely should not have. That man is a maniac for getting heavy plow very early on in Castle Age. And it's expensive.
I'm also a heavy plow believer.
Oh my.
Sometimes I get it before both, so I know it's bad, but
that's very bad. That is very bad. Got to get that wood income going, bruv, before you start slamming more farms down with heavy plow.
I have 2 TCs on wood. That should make up for it.
God.
I'm totally huffing copium.
Yes, quite hard. So I don't think that was the best fashion that Viper left the tournament in. I don't think he's overly pleased with his semi-final performance. But as we move into the final, I think we can just skim over the third place match with Viper winning that one.
Yeah.
Against ACCM, so ACCM finishing fourth. There was $1,000 in it, so it wasn't like there was no stakes. But we don't really have much of a. There wasn't a major interest in it. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of
I watched football, so
yeah, like Manchester United and City was on at the same time, and I'm thinking, man, I know where Viper would rather be right now. He's always got no spoiler tags whenever United are playing. He's streaming. So then we did have I think we had a pretty good viewer high during the third place match with the front page coming in, and then we went on to the final. Evacuation was over in about 19 minutes. Leary unfortunately mismarked his villagers and ended up with 3 times idle equal in comparison to her with the Mongol timings as well on evacuation. 1-0 up. We had the Mudfall game. This one was super strange for me. We ended up with Italians versus Byzantines. I was a bit like, the hell's going on here? And that was another relatively quick game. With Hera going up 2-0, but then on to Cup. This one looked a little bit better with Japanese versus Dravidians, but quite emphatic by Hera in the end. And then we had the classic mashup on High Tides. Hera took this one 4-0 with Malians beating Lithuanians. Leary in particular had a pretty rough moment with his monks in the game there. Ended up losing 3 of them to the knights, 3 or 4 of them. Didn't really prioritize relics either, which you want to be doing with lifts, which was kind of odd not to see. Wasn't a good day for Leary in the end, and Hera brought his A game. 100%. If there was any questions about him taking his foot off the gas, he did not do it in the final at all.
It was, I want to say, absolute domination.
It was
again from
total
Hera.
and brutal. It really was. And Hera's our Heading Cup 5 champion, or Vasco da Gama is.
Well deserved.
And it was well deserved.
Yeah. So yeah, in numbers, it's also his 6th S-tier tournament win in 1v1 in a row. 9th total.
We're getting close to this Viper conversation again. Is he the new goal? How many is he gonna have to win in a row?
Yeah, so over the period of time that counts for the AoE tournament points, Hera has won every S-tier event and has a 93% win rate in tournament sets during that period of time. He has won 38 sets, lost only 3 of them. That's group stage matches in probably Warlords 2, NAC 5, and maybe another one, maybe in TTL, something. Yeah, probably in TTL against freaking Andy. Yeah.
What are the other ones?
That's so Warlords 2 against Yo, NAC 5 against Viper.
Oh, that's right.
And TTL season 3 against freaking Andy in group stage. Those are the only 3 losses in over a year of S-tier tournaments.
Dude, that's crazy.
He has lost other in 8-tier events and stuff like that, but yeah, that's absolutely brutal.
Yes.
Another brutal statistic is Leary. This Leary who's back to this second place position that he is quite familiar with. I think with this second place finish in Hidden Cup 5, it is now his 12th second place finish in an S-tier tournament in his career.
That's brutal.
So that goes back all the way to the Fubli Hera, where he was also finishing second place to Viper. But definitely an improvement to his 10th place finish in NAC 5.
Yes, so certainly something for him to build on, despite the final.
Mm-hmm.
Finishing second ain't so bad. The same thing for Viper finishing third. You tuned into Viper's stream today, you would think he was devastated. Because he is, because he's just the winning.
I think that's just how competitive he is, Yep. And even if you look at the GL interview, he's not smiling except when Doubt is making jokes and stuff like that. But he's there, he has to do this, but he wanted to play better according to his own standards. He was not playing as well as he wishes he could be, and yeah, he's not happy. Even third place is not enough for him. He's that competitive that he wants to win, and I think Hera is probably the same. He's winning everything at the moment, but if he were third, he would be thinking about what he could be doing better to win. I think that's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tough one. He said he thinks he was playing a really high level in practice training games. Didn't come across in the main event, he says. One of these things that happens. He's obviously got a lot of personal stuff coming up with house move and Debbie's pregnant, so baby will be due soon. Or what could happen in the next year in terms of the top professional level, because life just might get in the way, We'll see. We shall see. Let's move on to the production kind of overall and the casters involved. And if you want to touch on that or start us off here. You guys are both mods for T90, so you guys are inside knowledge.
You'd think that there was actually not much info given, I would say, in that sense. Like T90 has some mods that he works very closely with, like Robo, JBR, Hardy, Ugly. Like they are the people like he's talking to first about stuff. Willis, Dux, as well, for his mods. So they are the ones that are helping him behind the scenes, where the other mods are more like just, can I say in general, channel moderators.
Dude, you had a map in the tournament.
Are you
yes. Are you telling us you're not in the inner circle? He obviously has multiple circles.
No, I wasn't even there from the start. I was busy talking about the qualifier map pools with some friends, like people that I met in T90. Is that like we have our own separate Discord, and we were talking about the maps, and then I just suddenly got this message from T90 while he was at NAC, and I was like I did not know what this was about. And then he asked like, do I want to help on the maps? I said yes. So like I only know what happened in like kind of the map part of stuff, which was like T9, which was basically, well, I actually don't know how much I should. I think it's reasonable to give away. T90 said he wanted another like map that is water focused, and that's how we ended up with Evacuation, made by Henk the Super Nerd. He gave 9 different map concepts with water related, which is
that's a lot.
Insane.
That's a lot.
Because especially water maps it's hard to or like a map that is focused on water, it's hard to come up with them, and like obviously not all of them are necessarily the best ideas, but like everyone liked the evacuation concept, and he has a couple other ones that I think could be potentially seen in the future somewhere.
Interesting.
So yeah, he's a really creative guy, and the way there's a Reddit post that people should look up. He posted today the progression of evacuation, and then T90 said he was up for anything else as the second map being added. And I submitted 2 closed maps. And I know I said people who know where I talk, like I do not like that enclosed Hidden Force is called a closed map, but the original map idea that I submitted to the T90 was a closed map with walls and that, and he looked at it. The first map, he said he likes the map, but he doesn't think it would work for Hidden Cup. Fair enough. Then he liked the core idea of Hidden Forts, and he suggested like some adjustments, like let's remove the walls. I think that's also fair, kind of for Hidden Cup, because T90, I don't think it's necessarily the biggest fan of like walls. Also, it does delay it extends the game, but then like he said, just give me this. Like I got big creative freedom what I could do with it, and it just progressed from there. And every time like I submit a new version, people were playing on it, and then I would adjust some things. It was fun because it was the first time actually like getting feedback while you are working on your map, which I never had.
How much playtesting did it get before the event?
A lot. I do not know how many games we played, because not all the recorded games were uploaded. But I myself, though, of the games that were uploaded, there were at least 12.
Okay, so a decent amount.
Yes, that was quite a lot. And I think most didn't even get uploaded. The and it was interesting to see like a lot of this. Some people go for the middle, some people don't, and then how that interaction played out. With yeah, it was fun to see. There was actually one version of the map where we somebody said, let's try putting the stones in the middle as well, and the player who had access to the middle of the whole game with the stone, and he was Georgians, he ended up losing somehow. Like that was that's actually insane. You'd think, oh, the guy has access to all the stone on the map. How can he lose that? But he did. But yeah, it was really fun working. It's my first STR map in 5 years. So it was different, and I would like to do it, like to get an opportunity in the future again if there's more hidden ups or any tournaments. Yeah, but other things like behind the scene with production, I think T90 said it was the same crew that worked on the NACs. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I heard that. And as far as I know, they are the same people, or some of the people that worked on the production side for the Red Bull Wolo events. So they know what they are doing.
I'm not sure if it was the. I think he said online Red Bulls, so it might have just been those ones, and potentially there was a different team for the on-site ones at Heidelberg at the castles. I think he said online, and I think he mentioned it was also maybe their last esports event. So if that's the case, that'd be a shame because
I might have missed that.
I'm pretty sure that's what he said. But the hidden cut production, I thought, was amazing in terms of like the cut scenes and everything else that went into it.
It was really good. We had Mapu coming back. We haven't seen him in a while. Being the observer, he always does a pretty good job.
I feel like a little bit off.
Yeah, that happens. He's also like he lives in Asia, right?
I think it's Japan.
Yeah, and that's so there could be a bit of a delay because it's an online event between him. Like maybe a bit of a disconnect. So like I'll let that slide, and I think he usually works with these guys, so it's like what do you call it? A familiarity thing as well. Why they went with him, and at least for me, I felt he did a good job, and he always sometimes like like that moving the mouse cursor over something, which sometimes the casters don't notice it, but when you notice, you're like, oh, okay, I see this is happening. Yeah. Then who else? We had Riley with the videos, the history.
What's going on, mate?
Yes, I love them all, and especially the Alfred the Alpaca one.
Really embraced all the memes there.
Indeed, it was. I actually watched it. That's the one I went to go watch because of how much I enjoyed it.
I think the Greg one was my favorite. The Greg,
I love them all.
The Greg one, he wanted to put in every monastery technology.
Oh, every tech. Oh. Yes, that was a pretty good one. Yes. I really like the Khosrow one. Yeah, like what you said, that he destroyed Antioch, and then he has it rebuilt identically, but better. And it says, "Oh, this is like new Antioch built by Khosrow built it." Like something like that. It was pretty fun. I don't know how historically accurate that really happened, but that sounds like a pretty fun detail.
Yeah, if you didn't see them, go watch them. They're all on T90's YouTube. He's definitely worth the time.
He's got he's very informative, but he's also got very good comedic timing. Well, as Riley, which really adds to the whole experience.
Also, then if we going behind the scenes, I obviously already mentioned Hardy and Ugly that do stuff there with a lot of the video editings that were done. We had Robo and JBR, the admins of the tournament. They were also the stats guys. So whenever you saw something pop up there in the left corner, it was them having fun. It was a teen IT like fake threatening them with their jobs. And I think this was one moment where Teen IT said, "This does not exist. You can apply at this does not exist.com or something." It was good to enter, and then bringing up the stats. It at least hit my type of humor that I like.
It was
For example,
it was a good mix of being informative and then very silly at the same time.
yeah, like Chinese have had 7 mirrors on Mudflow. They've won 7 times. Like
Well, 7
Yeah.
times.
yeah, like that's my type of thing. I think I covered everything with the production stuff.
I guess Casters
Maybe
is
missed-
the only one we missed.
Yeah, that's where I'm gonna move into now. We had a wide variety of casters. We had Day 9, we had Mem, we had Onlu, Dave, he's always there. Slam has been part of every hidden cup, except for the first one, because he was playing. We had Dash and Margugu. I think they all delivered. And
Who was your favorite co-caster though? I actually have a favorite.
It's Slam. You can't ask me.
The same answer for me. I thought Slam was so good, man.
If I didn't see him in the qualifier casting with T90, I might have said Margugu.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed his cast in the qualifier, but then when Slam started talking, the knees went weak at Slam for me. I enjoyed. I think, and it might be a bit of criticism is T90 Mem. I think they did a lot better this time than they were together at NAC. It felt like at NAC, it felt a bit they were trying to talk like I don't want to say shout a bit over each other, but it felt way more better in this event. Unfortunately, Mem had the audio issues. They weren't using Discord. I think it was using a completely different program.
Yeah, for sure. It'd be like an
Mem,
audio mixer.
Yeah. And I think there's this one setting that Mem had turned on, which you do not want turned on, but that was a bit unfortunate. But I think they did a really good job. In the set they did together. It was Day 9. Very, I would say, but not
It was
necessarily
different.
AoE guy. Yes,
It was different. I don't think the cast was to everyone's taste. But I actually didn't
not
like.
as
I think it was
I didn't
very
mind
well received in general.
it.
I think the
Yes.
reception was pretty positive. Maybe not from the hardcore AoE zone haters and everything. Well, I don't want to oversimplify, but like, okay, I think there was like a bit of a discussion about Day 9 not bringing in a whole lot of game knowledge, but I think he had like exceptional energy, and he was also making it a lot more friendly to new viewers. Like you have to think about a huge event like that. Obviously, nerds like us have watched thousands of games. We have played a lot at, let's say, intermediate level. So we know the game and everything. But for a lot of new viewers and people who are maybe a bit more new with the game and the competitive scene, like you've imagine you stumble upon T90's videos and then you hear about Hidden Cup and suddenly Hidden Cups happen, but you don't know about all the intricacies of all the civilizations, strategies, pros doing this and that. And I think Day 9 was pretty good at like
simplifying
getting
it.
T90 to explain, like
Mhm.
and maybe like making it more accessible to newer players. I think that was really good.
I think
And
that's fair.
and you can say in theory like he is bringing some of his type of people who like because he was kind of like a known was I don't know like a known face in StarCraft, and if we bring people over, he kind of bridge that gap. Like he'd give a StarCraft term and then let T90 explain how it's AoE, kind of like think if you're I don't know, like there was this on that Bay game where Jordan ended up like he had a good of conversions, and he called it what this play would be in StarCraft, and then T90 explained it in the AoE2 sense, which
Mhm.
was interesting. Something to note, talking about the like hardcore viewers potentially, is I felt the twit on Twitch, the chat was a bit more negative towards him.
I
If
think
that's
I think at the start of the series, and I think it warmed up towards the end.
I was watching on YouTube, and it was kind of mild. Like I don't
Mm.
think there was any like even needing to moderate with regards to his casting. And I saw quite a lot of comments on YouTube that were like positive, like oh they are really enjoying him. So
Good.
yeah, so maybe you could say there's a bit more of a casual viewership on YouTube. Or more likely to be. That's up for debate. So,
I think
but
I think that's fair. I think it is fair to say that.
But I think it was a bit. It was more. It was better received on the YouTube side of things, from chat at least. Though I think he did a really good job, and I enjoyed it.
It was different. I think it's just the best way to put it.
Yeah.
If you had to go and watch a typical kind of AoE cast, it was different, but it suited the event. I think it's the important thing that we've kind of touched on. It was good.
And
It was still
then
good.
and we go over to the viewer numbers. Saw a screenshot, said there was like over 70,000 people watching AoE2, which you can assume 99% of the people are covering Hidden Cup. It is one of the biggest events, which is really solid number. A solid number. It's maybe not as much as T90 got on Twitch last time for Hidden Cup 4. I think he got 76,000 on his channel without front page, which is insane. He peaked at above 37k this time, which it's not bad. It's actually really solid if you have to think of when was
Still
the
very
last
good.
Hidden Cup.
Still very
Last
good.
last Hidden Cup as well was during COVID. There was a one. I think it was just around the time when one of the big waves hit as well. So that was again when people were a bit more sheltered, maybe. So there was more time to watch
Stay inside.
video games. Yeah. I think 37k is really respectable.
I think it's very good considering he's just been on Facebook for 2 years.
That as well, and then he reached during the final. He reached 17,000 on YouTube, and then when they started doing the reveal, it bumped to just under 20,000, which was nice to see. Like, and it didn't. My prediction from the previous episode didn't become real, where I said it's gonna smash the Twitch view numbers, but I think 19,800 is a great number on YouTube, especially if you think NAC, which was the first big event that was covered on YouTube, had 8,000. I think peaked at 8,000 viewers.
Yes, I think it was
totally wrong.
I
Yeah.
think it was close
But-
to like the 10 mark, but it was something in it around there.
But it does show there's potential, I think, on YouTube that hasn't been tapped yet. 20,000 people watching that on YouTube. It's yeah, it's really good to see, I think. And
Yeah.
at least from me, I actually prefer watching on YouTube over Twitch. I get less lag stutters there, and I hope more. Oh, I hope it continues for big events to be on YouTube, even if there's like a 20-second delay. And sometimes I get spoiled when I read Discord, and people are like, "Oh, that demo," and like, "No, there's no demo on my screen." Oh, wait, it's happened. Like just that remembering. But other than that, yeah, I think T90 should be.
He should be very
Very
pleased.
happy. Yeah,
I
he
think.
might not have reached his goals, but you have to look at the whole picture.
Mm-hmm. Has to be very realistic. With
Yeah,
the
it was.
compare, it's just not fair to compare it to Hidden Cup 4.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near the same situation. The production and stuff honestly, it was second to none. It was way better than anything he's ever done before. It looked like a professional esports event.
Yeah. But
in my opinion.
Next time we're getting a Hidden Cup LAN event. People playing with paper bags on their heads.
Bags over their heads.
Yes.
That would be an improvement for most of them.
Like the production, the production value of Hidden Cups has always improved from its inception in Hidden Cup 1 to Hidden Cup 2. I think that was probably like the biggest jump. But then since Hidden Cup 2, it has been like consistently improving, and the production was insane. And
The
Hidden
biggest
Cup
jump
5 is just like
biggest jump has been from Hidden Cup 1 to Hidden Cup 2 because everyone in Hidden Cup 1 was called Hidden Cup 1, Hidden Cup 2, Hidden Cup 3.
there was
4.
and like well that was also Hidden Cup 2 was the first time that capturage was used as well.
Yes.
So before that, we used to spectate with PKZ, Spectre Volley on Vubli, and jumping, like capturage was like a massive jump. And, you know, it was that plus the hero, which was huge. And also like the new maps. I think Ban Cup were Hidden Cup 2 maps. Hidden Cup 1 had City of Lakes, which is not as good, I can tell you that.
The Hidden Cup 1 map pill.
Land of Lakes, sorry.
Wait, yeah, it's like, I think it just had to
basically a City of Lakes, though.
Yeah, it's basically the same map, but my god, I think the Hidden Cup 1 map pill is absolute cheeks. It's so bad. We came far.
So yeah, like that's why I'm saying Hidden Cup 2 was the biggest jump in quality, and then since then it has been gradually improving.
Ever since, for sure. Okay, let's move on to our reveal and kind of overall event summary. Just a few things really to touch on. Tarsus. Take it away.
Yeah, so the final moments of Hidden Cup, once the final had been won, they had this like very well produced video reveal where they went and revealed every player. They did it round by round, starting with the round of 16 and revealing the losers, and then from the semifinal onwards, they revealed everyone in one go. I think it was like really well done. The production, again, amazing. I think T90's editors are always so ugly and hardy, are always making a really great job. There was highlights of the players from taken from the matches, and then the reveal of the player, including as well, I think the reveal of the opponents. The guess the opponents had made. So yeah, quite a big improvement from last time. I think last time it was just the names or something like that. So like
I
this
think
time
the bracket was up and it just kind of like revealed. It was a bit of a.
And it had like different colors for viewer votes, player
it was so
confusing. Like prediction page votes. So yeah, a lot of information crammed in one bracket. I think it was much better, much more smooth this time. It was pretty amazing. Bigger surprises for some of us. Well, actually, for two of us, there was some surprises because we didn't get perfect scores on the guessing game. But for one of us, namely Paradox, there was no surprise at all.
You
Were
guys,
you surprised by anything, Panda, in the reveal?
No. Actually,
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Vinicius. Actually, no. Even
Which
though
one? Which one did
I
you?
went for the
Which one
Scorpion.
did you get wrong? Which one did you get wrong?
So I had 3 wrong. I put
Yeah.
Winchester in Mihai's spot. I put Yo in
Yeah.
Winchester's spot, and then Mihai in Yo's spot.
Okay.
Even
so you
like
switched
knowing it was
three.
wrong, but I had to commit. I had to.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it was Vinch and Yo, and yeah, I set my guesses. I think on Friday or Saturday, maybe.
no excuses.
And I was like, okay.
Mine was also. I think mine was Saturday.
I submitted mine first, like when it opened.
Yeah,
I was
you
just like,
did it before, and I think we Paradox and I both did it on Saturday. The day before, it's like okay, and yeah, I committed with Winchester and you, but I was aware it was like a 50-50 at best. I was not a believer in the farm theory for Winchester, and I was fairly confident about everything else.
I mean, that's
like,
where you
yeah,
tripped up.
yeah,
Not believing in the
we've
farms.
brushed on it. We've brushed on it earlier. Winchester was the player who got guessed the least, so I think he wins the prize for that. And Hera was the player who got guessed the most, actually ahead of MBL. Like I think Hera 84% or something like that. I think we can maybe check the stats. But yeah, something like Hera was guessed 84% of the time. Yeah, 84% of the time. 5,000 correct guesses out of close to 6,000. MBL 83%. And then towards the bottom end, we had Taro. Oh, ACCM at 16. No, Mr. Yu at 16%. Taro 15%, and Winchester 15%. So those three were the least guessed players. But yeah, I guess like no surprise for us, and for I guess like on the there was like a few hubs for guessing T90's Discord, AoE Zone, the GB Discord. I guess probably every community Discord we're cooking up their own guesses. But I think overall the guessing has been figured out mostly.
Jordan was still a surprise for me, despite him being the last one I had to fill in.
Okay.
I had filled in 15 players, and I still felt off than Jordan because of the monk thing.
Yeah, I was not sure about Jordan, but I think it felt like for me Jordan was like part of a threesome with Genji and Barl.
Just steady on.
I was fairly comfortable with Genji being Robert Giscard for the lag spike gate, and then Barles and Jordan. I felt like Pachacuti had more Barles vibes than Jordan.
Did you actually look at Robert Giscard's hero icon?
I saw on Twitter you posted he's blue and yellow, so it has to be Genji.
Mate, his helm, his helm is literally like a vertical Sweden flag upside down.
are we exposing
I mean, technically,
Cup to be rigged?
Robert Giscard is like a Norman. The Normans were descendants of Vikings who settled North France after their raids.
Oh,
so
God.
you know, there's like clear affiliation there. So
We're cooking.
Anyway.
I actually think we are exposing Hidden Cup to actually be rigged.
Yes.
Hashtag conspiracy theory.
Tinfoil hats.
Speaking of which, maybe we can talk a little bit about the settings of Hidden Cup. So there's a couple different things in there. Single elimination and random seeding is definitely one of the main aspects of Hidden Cups where it's different than other tournaments. How do you think it impacts the competitiveness of the event when you compare it to like a more classic other S tier event, like let's say NAC5 or Warlords 2?
I think it's good to have variation settings. So I think it's absolutely fine to have one event like this. Like random seed, only 16 players in it. I think our top four is not too far off what a normal top four would look like. I think it's okay to have different events. Like random seed is something that's used in top level sport. I don't know why it couldn't be used in esport. And we don't really have good seeding methods anyway.
It's also very cutthroat, so you have to bring your A game, which I like. You cannot slip up. Like, unfortunately, get a situation where Tattoo was sick and maybe not 100% when he played it, but I mean, in sport the same happens, right?
Yeah.
You have a team with 5 injuries playing against somebody in a team like that's in their peak form, and that's just you have to try your best. I at least I like single elimination, and like obviously not all the time, but I personally prefer group stage play, all games, play everyone, big stuff. But I think this, especially for a hidden cup, it works perfectly. And something big difference from last time, and I think it's well received by the players, was everyone was playing at the same time for the round of 8 and the round of 16.
Yeah.
So you could actually like cook a bit with your strategies, so to say. Nobody will know what you did if you won in the round of 16 when it comes to the round of 8. And this might be even pushing. I think if there's a Hidden Cup 6, I would love it to be the semifinals also be played before any games are like streamed.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind that. It wouldn't bother me overall.
There is a world. There is a world where I want to see Hera face off against ACCM without knowing about the Georgians, without knowing what's coming. I think it would be fun to see Hera against ACCM without the knowledge of prior sets. Because Hera was talking about it in his interview after winning a tournament, saying that since it's all under behind closed doors, you can go all guns blazing from round 1. You don't have to hide any strategy, and you shouldn't, because you could be faced against another top tier player. And so this idea that having this thing that's there are secrets, you can come up with like your most crazy strats, and like there's always a risk that if you're saving strategies for later, you don't get to show them. And the Hidden Cup doesn't have that, because it's in your best interest to have your best strategies on from round 1.
Yeah, I hadn't really considered that. That's a good point, actually, in terms of like competitiveness, isn't it?
Yeah.
Another change, which I think it helps a bit. Something people like a criticism is that you're out because of single elimination random seed, right? Previous Hidden Cups, it was only best of 5s. This one is a best of 7. So in theory, you are more likely to have the better player win along the set than, say, no offense to Mihai, let's say it was a best of 3, him coming and doing a smash and grab 2-1 against Hera in the first round. If they were like in a tournament where it's a single elimination best of 3, like hypothetically, that is something that can happen. But But yeah, so I like the best of sevens. I like the prize pool spread.
Yeah, the prize pool spread I think mitigates the randomness because like if we look at the first round brackets, there is I think so like what Paradox said about the top four is pretty much the top four you would get if the tournament was seeded. I think this is true, and in the end, the better player wins. But that maybe like the main question is between top 16 and top 8. You know, like if you look at Jordan Mihai, clearly it's not the same level as Viper Yo. Well, that is also like a first round set, and so like Jordan is a top 8 player in Heated Cup 5, and Yo is top 16, but probably Yo is still stronger than Jordan. And if they had swept Mihai and Yo, say, and then or yeah, like or Miha or Yo and Jordan. Probably Yo goes through and Jordan loses. So I think having this prize money well spread out, it it offsets the unfairness of the bracket.
And also, I think it's good in the like it allows the players on the lower end as well to stay on playing the game, right? Like we said, Mihai doubled his life earnings according to Wikipedia with this performance. So that's also good. Like the event not being top heavy, it might allow some players to stick around for longer and put in more effort, and maybe in 2-3 years we're like, damn, how is Era going to be the favorite to win Hidden Cup 8? It's, I think, right? Yeah, it was 5 this year. So in 3 years, Hidden Cup 8, is Hera going to be the favorite?
Yeah,
We have 4 challenges.
That's if we
for the
have one
British.
every year.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Hidden Cup 6 then. I actually don't mind it if it's not every year.
I don't like having. I don't like having
That-
the same events every year.
That's fair.
I think it kind of saturates. Events kind of lose their spark because they're too often, I think.
You always have to.
I don't mind
deliver,
it for
right?
something like King of the Desert.
Oh
You
my-
know, it's easy to
no.
organize at
No!
Arabia.
What is
event.
wrong with you? Oh, it's been done to death.
There was another thing I wanted to bring up, but I forgot what it was.
Well, I think yeah. So maybe closing comments on this. So Viper made some comments about explaining his performance and everything. I don't know if we want to go too deep into that.
No, we can just kind of like.
You want to brush on that, Paradox?
We can just touch on it. Just
Or
kind of had
yeah.
a small Q&A in his Discord as of last night. We've kind of said a few things that you already said. Already said he was kind of felt really good in terms of his practice level, but he was performing really well. And I confirmed that Jordan hadn't played too much. If you're on his Discord, it's probably worth going. I don't know, I'll read at him. I also asked him where he puts his farms, and he says he tries to put them on the right-hand side consistently. And I only just found this out. The old school gamers are trying to do that because it was more efficient for the early farms to be on the right-hand side.
Yeah, that's well known. You know that until last week, Darvoy still thought it was still a thing.
Oh my god. Yeah. We now know Viper's also a right-hand side gamer.
Do you think there are people who don't even know that used to be a thing? Like
I know, and I'm the farm guy.
New players.
T90 did make a comment at the end that it could be the last Hidden Cup, but you just never know. So it kind of makes it makes sense. It makes more sense to say it could be the last Hidden Cup instead of saying there's definitely going to be another one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't read into that anything at all.
We don't know how the dice would roll, right?
You just don't. You don't know what life's going to bring at you. So
yeah, you might get a better idea than Hidden Cup, right? And then it replaces it.
could be a thing.
So anything is possible.
I don't think it's super popular amongst a few of the players. And it's really the flagship AoE event. But yeah, it's a tricky one. It's obviously so good for the viewers, so engaging. Deserves to be the top dog, in my opinion. But we'll see. We will see. I think that's really a wrap on Hidden Cup. Now, I'm looking at the length here of the video and I'm already quite scared. I'm just going to very quickly touch on other news because we can probably talk about this another time. So we had the Age of Empires event, which was a live stream that went on, doing some announcements. We have a new scenario mission campaign only coming to Age 2. When is that? Is that like a month or something, or is it longer?
On the 14th of March.
Okay, so only 10 days from now for us. Not too long. So that'll be 19 missions. I think a few of them have been on the mod store before, and 5 new ones. Obviously, they get professional voice acting, all of the other things. Now, I don't know how I feel about it, if I'm being strictly honest. Well, anything it generates, if they think it's going to be profitable and generates income for the game, then it's probably good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not necessarily a campaign guy myself, but
I probably won't buy it that way.
I might check it out.
I'm definitely buying it and playing it.
Definitely buying. You probably pre-ordered it already, knowing you.
No, I haven't. But
not yet.
Being a campaign connoisseur, Taz is.
Yeah. I like campaigns. I actually prefer real campaigns than one-off missions because I feel like you get more time to get to know the characters, the environment. You know, it's like more immersive. So I'm not a huge fan of like the mission things, but I think on the other hand, it lets you try more radical things with the gameplay. That's interesting as well.
It's
sure
also easier, I think, in a sense.
Oh,
with
yeah.
Your research, your history, covering like only one thing, like this, one of the siege of Constantinople at some point, one of the missions, and I think it's also going to be like the event scenario where you can like co-op. Basically, you can not co-op, but like you can do 2v2 on that map, and then actually fight against friends trying to conquer as the Turks and defend as the Byzantines, which I think is pretty.
That is awesome, and that should be like. How many times have you like we've grown up with watching Lord of the Rings, Helm's Deep, stuff like that when we were kids. So it's something that I think should definitely. Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
I'll make sure I ask you for your feedback on
it. Yeah. I need to find people to play it with me. I don't know many campaign players.
Yeah, me neither. I really don't.
Or at least and that would classify as a custom scenario because everyone will get access to that specific event. But I do like the idea of it, and you can play it in different ways because there's 2 Byzantines, which it kind of plays differently. Well, I think one's more land, one is more water focused. Same with the Turks kind of thing. I actually played it this morning against the AI. So, but yeah, I think the idea is good, and the single scenarios, at least, like I said, I think it's easier. You can research a specific event and play around that, where it's having to try and make a campaign about someone's whole life might be a bit more difficult.
It's also just less investment for players to play like something that's one-off.
Like, oh, is it? I was gonna say, like, because sometimes you, how can I call it? Going quickly back to the someone's whole event, there might be a hero of a very specific battle, but we don't know much about that person, like outside of that one particular event, and now to try and drag that across, 5 or 6 individual missions makes it kind of hard, and then that means it kind of cannot make it into a campaign. That's just kind of what I like, what a single scenario offers you, at least. At least that's my thinking.
Yeah.
With regards
Yeah.
to single missions.
I'll be keeping my eyes on it. If I get good feedback, it's maybe something I can be convinced of. Let's see. But there was loads of other news in the event as well. We've got Age of Mythology Retold. We had some initial looks of what some heroes could look like. There was gameplay screenshots on Steam, but for some reason they didn't show that in the segment. I thought that was extremely odd. We then got to see Age of Empires Mobile. Yeah, it's been produced by the Chinese studio that's got the Teamy, I think they're called. They produce quite a lot of mobile games. Curious to see how that one will go, how much of it's going to be like pay to win features, etc., etc. It'll be interesting to see how much more like interest it generates in the franchise and potentially crossing over into the PC game. And we had the major news for the competitive scene was the new Red Bull tournament. Totally confirmed now. Ronaldo? Where Ronaldo? I can't remember what it was called. But very much some sort of like Spanish speaking influence in the title, so people were convinced it's going to be in Spain. And there's lots of castles in Spain. So going off what the last event could be, it could be a castle. Or it could just be a homage to Tato and a complete bait. Since he was the last winner.
Could be. I think the big question surrounding that is it going to be only AoE 2 again? Are they going to, have the rest of the franchise make an appearance as well?
I think
last
no.
time.
I think it's just going to be Age 2.
I'm feeling the same, which is a bit disappointing. I think there's room for all the games, but I mean, in an esports sense, AoE2 is the biggest in the franchise. So, and it has brought them a lot of success. So it makes sense if it is only AoE2 for them. I'll say I can feel the sadness that the other games in it, like fans of the franchise, might have. But also needs to understand it's a big investment, right? If you are like you're renting a castle for a whole week, you have to fly. If you fly multiple events, right, that is
a lot of players.
That's double the player amounts, and I don't think we will have again like a Viper competing in multiple of the games, right? So
or Capotch.
Exactly. It will be so it's easily 32 players, maybe even more, depending on if they include, Age of Empires 3 this time. It just makes the cost scale enormously, and that's just not feasible, I think.
Yeah, I don't see it. I do not see it, I'm afraid. And I think it fit well with Legacy. And the event was called Legacy. So fit well to have AoE 1, AoE 2, AoE 4. Can have everything combined all together. I think that should be our next big tourney proper announcement soon as well, because we don't have anything at this moment, do we?
Nothing for the foreseeable future. Well, I say maybe we have something announced soon. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll hear about Red Bull soon.
Hopefully
Or
soon.
whatever is next.
Hopefully soon. Last very small point to touch on. GL have a Cobra Car scenario. If you've not went and played it, go and play it. Make sure you turn off the mod after you've done though, because it does replace some of the sound files in your game. So you end up having like Tato's voice at the end of a game if you don't turn the mod back off.
Sounds like an improvement, if you ask me.
But it plays like Tron music in the background, which catches
Maybe
people
that's
off
too
guard
much.
who play those with the people who play with music enabled.
SMH my head. It's a very fun scenario though. I love the concept of it and how they've changed. Like each scenario's with a very different feel and theme to it. I love the design of it. Anyway, that's everything covered. Many thanks if you made it all the way through. A couple of days late. It's meant to be February. So we are in March. Thank you for listening. Tarzus, thank you. And to thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck on Sunday. You're gonna need it, bruv.
Oh, yes, I completely forgot. Yes, we're gonna slap you.
Let's go, Team Darbar.
Yes, Team Robo's gonna be in the mud.
Graceful. Good night.